Chapter 129. The two of them easily passed through the infrared room and opened another metal door. As soon as they stepped through the door, they heard gunshots in front of them. Little Six shouted through the communicator, "There's an ambush inside. We're fighting with them. Their firepower is too strong. We can't hold on much longer." The two of them quickly split up and approached Little Six and the others from the left and right sides of the wall. When they got closer, they could see clearly that in the visible space, from one end to the other, there was a row of shaking machine guns firing. Small holes were dug in the walls, and the barrels of the machine guns were sticking out of the holes. At this moment, they were really firing bullets with all their might. The bullets were extremely powerful. They didn't need to be aimed in a certain direction. As long as they kept firing, there wouldn't be a single corner in the room left untouched. The whole room was shaking like the sea. Little Six and the others dodged left and right pathetically, releasing colorful spiritual energy around them. However, they couldn't block the other side. The bullets were too dense. It seemed that they couldn't hold on much longer. Yinren quickly released her vigorous spiritual energy. With a wave of her hand, all the machine guns on one wall were blocked. The bullets rebounded into the barrels, and all the eye-catching holes were blocked. Then, there was the sound of the machine guns breaking and falling from the air. Huagang knew that he couldn't do what Yinren did. He could only break a single gun, and not destroy a wall like Yinren. "Cool," Little Six shouted. "Yinren is too awesome. I was almost F*King killed just now. This firepower is so strong that it can wipe out an entire regiment." After Yinren dealt with all four walls, she realized that there was no one around. Little Six and the others were obviously fighting with a group of robots. "Did they fire automatically when you came in?" Yinren asked Little Six. "When we came in, there was no one at all. But after we took 2 steps, a row of machine guns suddenly emerged from the wall and started firing at us. We almost couldn't dodge them. When we entered the room just now, we probably triggered some mechanism that made these machine guns fire automatically," Huagang deduced. "These fugitives are truly daring enough to risk their lives." Yinren took a look. These weapons were the most advanced weapons in the world. "Everyone be careful. Looks like this is just the beginning." They passed by the room and saw another door. It seemed like the underground of the nightclub had been hollowed out. Now there was no other way. Retreating was unrealistic. They could only continue to move forward. "Everyone be careful. The machine gun was activated just now. I suspect that the enemy already knows that there are intruders," Huagang reminded everyone. "Today's situation is not good for us. The enemy is in the dark while we are in the light. So far we have not found any bank. I'm guessing that these rooms are the roadblocks they set up," Little Six guessed. Yinren didn't say anything. She just reminded them to be careful and prepared to enter the next room. Sure enough, the next room was even stranger. After entering, it was still empty. There was nothing but walls. They didn't trigger any more mechanisms. The walls were normal. Yinren directly used her spiritual power to protect them. Little Six joked, "Yinren, I feel like someone is hugging me. It's warm." Before he finished speaking, Little Six felt a bitter taste in his tongue. He couldn't describe it with words. He just felt like something was stuffed into his mouth. Little Six spat out, "What is it?" Yinren suddenly warned, "Everyone don't talk." The few of them walked quietly. They could see the whole picture of the room at a glance. There was nothing special. The only difference from the previous room was that there was only an entrance and no exit. Huagang walked at the back. As soon as he entered, the door behind him seemed to be blocked by a hand, making a patter sound. They fought in this space, trying to find if there was a hidden exit. But after touching the walls, they didn't feel anything. They felt a bitter taste in their mouths. Why was there a strange taste? Yinren said, "We have to speed up. There's something strange in here." But the more they wanted to speed up, the faster they couldn't. Time seemed to be against them, and they walked very slowly. A feeling of irritation and anxiety attacked everyone's heart. The unknown to the enemy, the unknown to the empty room, the unknown to the bitter taste in his mouth. Time passed by minute by minute. Little Six suddenly said, "Do you feel that the taste in your mouths is getting more bitter?" The others nodded. Yinran's heart skipped a beat. She felt fine. Huagang also said, "It's getting more bitter in our mouths. Is there poison in the air? It seems that we can't delay any longer." Yinran ordered, "Let's go back to the previous room first." They didn't delay any longer. If they stayed any longer, would they all die from poisoning? The door was locked from the inside. Yinran used her spiritual power to open the door. When they entered, they were no longer in the previous room. Instead, it was an empty room with only a table. "It seems that we triggered a mechanism and came to another room," Yinran said helplessly. They took out the pills they carried with them. They didn't know if the pills would work. This room was okay. There were 2 doors. They should at least go out from the opposite door. Huagang had already looked around. This room was even more strange. The square table was in the center, and there was a lamp on the table. There was no power cord, but the lamp emitted a weak light that shone on the 4 walls. It was deathly pale. The weak light could never illuminate the darkness in front of them. Just like the righteousness on a cultivator's face could never kill off the abyss of evil. This place was airtight, and no light could pass through. Apart from that small table lamp, who could peek through the thick walls and see a glimmer of light in the darkness. Light and darkness, this was how unpredictable it was. After they took the pills, the bitter taste in their mouths didn't completely disappear. Instead, it faintly strengthened. "Yinran, this is bad. It seems like we've really been poisoned." Little Six had just finished speaking when he directly fell down. Soon, one by one, they all fell to the ground. Even Huagang couldn't escape. What cultivators were most afraid of was poison. They could use their spiritual power to block all kinds of smoke, bullets, swords, spears, and arrows. But when it came to poison, without special training, they would still be poisoned. Yinran also felt a little dizzy. It seemed like she had to wear a gas mask next time. This group of criminals was really unscrupulous. It was really impossible to guard against them. Right now, other than her, they were all wiped out. She pushed Little Six, but there was no reaction at all. Yinran's heart seemed to be pressed by an invisible rock. Ever since the mission began, they had never encountered such a terrible situation. Could it be that they were going to fail this time? Yinran stood up and looked around. There were no cameras, but she felt like there was a pair of invisible eyes staring at her from somewhere. It was cold and vicious. Yi Xuanfei also followed into room 365. After that, she couldn't follow. The distance was too close, and the target was too big. As a top-notch scout, her anti-detection ability was also top-notch. As soon as Yi Xuanfei entered the tunnel of room 365, she sensed something strange. Behind an unknown place, a clear and bright invisible red line seemed to be aiming at her back. She retracted her spiritual power and returned to being a harmless ordinary person. The red line was still following her. It was a small matter to be followed, but it was troublesome. It seemed that Yinran's mission wouldn't be successful this time. As one of the guardians of humanity, Yi Xuanfei was also clear about her mission. But this was the southern district, not under her control. She didn't want to get into trouble. Retreat. As the saying goes, it's easy to go up the mountain, but hard to go down the mountain. But at this moment, Yi Xuanfei realized that if she went down the stairs of room 365, it would be difficult to go back. She didn't know what mechanism was triggered. When Yi Xuanfei turned around and walked up, the stairs suddenly disappeared, and another iron door appeared in front of her. She immediately realized that this was an array. For an expert like her who often studied arrays, there were times when she failed. She didn't expect that she would be trapped in a large array. She immediately sat down cross-legged and didn't take another step forward. Arrays were used for attack and defense. She obviously didn't know the enemy's background. If she rashly attacked and triggered the array, the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Yi Xuanfei took off the jewel on her belly button and placed it in the palm of her right hand. She held her palm up, closed her eyes, and focused on it. The jewel gradually floated from her palm into the air and emitted a dazzling blue light. It spread out like water waves. At first it was slow, but gradually it became faster and faster. Its power also gradually increased. The blue light passed through the wall and transmitted its energy directly to the room opposite. Soon the light responded, Just as Yi Xuanfei expected, the room opposite her was the most dangerous part of the array. The murderous aura was extremely strong. If one entered the array, they would definitely be injured. Judging from the array, it was very similar to the ground carrier array that she had studied before. There were 12 ground carrier arrays. It was square in shape with clouds at the four corners. It was difficult to block the enemy. It was unpredictable and could be used endlessly. It couldn't stand alone and was compatible with the sun. However, the ground carrier array that she had studied before couldn't be set up on its own. This meant that there were other arrays in other positions waiting for intruders. In that case, Yanran and the rest were in danger. Yi Xuanfei was ecstatic. It seemed that this was a great opportunity to get rid of Yanran. She didn't even have to do anything. The array inside could torture her to death. Looking at the arrangement of the array, it must have been set up by a big family. She hadn't activated the array yet, so there was still a chance for her to escape. However, Yanran was already in the tiger's den. There was no way for her to escape. Yi Xuanfei's lips curled up. This time, I'll be an onlooker. She directed the blue jewel to fight in the room opposite her. The ground carrier array had clouds but no wind. They used the middle team of the array. The left team was at the back and 3 teams were at the front. The northeast and northwest cloud teams were at the back and 2 teams were at the back. The left and right teams were at the back and 3 teams were at the left, right and center. The left and right teams were at the front and 3 teams were at the back. The left and right teams were at the front and 3 teams were at the back, and 2 teams were at the ends of the Earth axis. The right teams were at the front and 3 teams were at the back. The southeast and southwest cloud teams were at the front and 2 teams were at the front. It was said that the clouds were attached to the earth. Yi Xuanfei chanted in her heart. She filled the blue jewel with spiritual power and broke it one by one before the array changed. Soon, the iron door in front of her disappeared, and a winding staircase appeared. Chapter 130. Xiao Xiao took the book and gem back to his bedroom, and the little star in his hand became brighter and brighter. In the blink of an eye, the gem's light was already hurting his eyes. Kong Xiaoming, help me see why this little star is shining. Xiao Xiao called out to the 2 spiritual senses. It was also the first time Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming had seen this little star. They saw that a halo had already formed around the star, about the size of a palm, rippling like water. Under the gem was a pattern in the shape of the 8 trigrams. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming studied it for a long time. It looked like a talisman, but it wasn't exactly like it. The ancient pattern of the demon realm was faintly discernible. Xiao Xiao, it really looks like a totem of your demon realm. Kong Ming guessed. The demon realm worships the demon lord the most, my father. Xiao Xiao rolled his eyes and said, this is recorded in the ancient book. Kong Ming shook his head and explained the history. Originally, Fuxi was the god of the god realm, Niwa was the mother of the earth, and Shinong was the boss of the beast realm. However, someone violated the taboo of human-beast hybridization. After Shinong passed away, Chiyu of the beast realm had the idea of unifying the 3 realms. So he began to fight with the human world. With the help of the god, the human world finally defeated Chiyu. That was hundreds of thousands of years ago, right? You're still talking about it now? Xiao Xiao also knew about the history of the demon realm. At that time, Chiyu's appearance was in the talisman under this gem. Kong Xiaoming pointed at the gem and said to Xiao Xiao, wait a minute. This pattern seems to have been mentioned in a book. I'll study it. Kong Ming suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Xiao Xiao cursed in his heart. What kind of spiritual sense is this? You still have to learn it on the spot. No wonder you're always digging a hole for yourself. You're not good at studies and mislead others. Humph. At this moment, Xiao Xiao had completely forgotten about his glorious history of being the last in the exam. Found it. Xiao Xiao, I can only say that you are extremely lucky. This long-lost book on the demonic sky array is talking about this gem. Kong Ming excitedly showed the book in his mind to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao followed Kong Ming's consciousness and read the book page by page. The little tadpoles also perked up. There was more knowledge to learn. Sure enough, There was a detailed introduction to the origin of the gemstone, its function, and how to use it. After reading it, Xiao Xiao only had two thoughts. 2F** King awesome. What AF** King scam. The amazing part was that this gem was indeed the crystallization of Qi Yu's descendant's inner core. When he was alive, he was good at leading troops to war. He could set up all kinds of formations to defend against the enemy. He could be said to be the ancestor of all formations in the world. His inner core became the eye of the formation. There was no formation that couldn't be broken, and no formation that couldn't be set up. And the scam part was that the whole book was incomplete. Basically, it was either missing a corner or a page. The only regrettable part that Xiao Xiao felt could make up for it was that all the formations were drawn in detail. But the explanation below was mostly guesswork. F***CK. Grinding teeth. It was like buying a piece of gold, only to find out that it was gilded. Kong Ming smiled embarrassedly and said, "This is why I didn't take it out for you to learn before. Many ancient books have been passed down for a long time, and have gone through many hands. So many of them are broken. You can only rely on half of it. I was afraid that I would mislead you. But there is one thing that is right. Although the most powerful part of this gem is the formation, if you use it to cultivate, it will be twice the result with half the effort. You can absorb the energy contained in this gem into your body. In this way, you don't have to run to the back of the mountain to find spiritual power." Xiao Xiao suddenly remembered that there was a page just now that said, "It seems that there are two of this kind of gem." Kong Ming replied, "The book said that there is a pair, one male and one female. Yours is male. Forget it, forget it. It seems that Yi Xuanfei's imitation is the real thing." Looking at this simple and unadorned demonic sky formation, Xiao Xiao was prepared to use it to cultivate. But 4 words floated in his mind. It was a waste of talent. Such an awesome gem was used to make an energy stone. What a waste. Without saying much, he sat cross-legged on the bed, and felt the energy that this star-like gem brought to him. The method to activate the gem's energy was recorded on the first page of the book. Xiao Xiao slowly exhaled. With a light flick of his finger, the blue gem in his palm flew into the air. Xiao Xiao released a bit of devil qi and raised his right palm. The gem spiraled up until it was at the same level as his eyes. He stared at the totem below the gem, and chanted the incantation listed in the book. Ma la red ka. The gem seemed to have been unlocked. With a click, the 5 corners of the entire star extended in 5 directions. The totem rose from the bottom of the gem to the middle of the split open space. A sacred ceremony seemed to have begun, and was completed in an instant. At this time, the gem turned into a badge with 5 corners. It began to spin rapidly, spinning above Xiao Xiao's head like a wind and fire wheel. It was too comfortable. Surging spiritual power gushed out from the gem, and covered his Baihui acupoint like a cover. Xiao Xiao's parietal eye had already opened. Spiritual power continuously poured in from the parietal eye. It flowed along his limbs and bones to the soles of his feet. Then it flowed along his meridians and returned to the parietal eye. The turbid air was exchanged, and the spiritual power was absorbed. His entire body entered a virtuous cycle. Yanran shook her double vision. It seemed that not only Huagang and the others were poisoned, but she was also slightly poisoned. But she could still withstand it. She used all the spiritual power in her body to pull out all the meridians in her body from the inside out. The poison that had already invaded her skin was forcibly squeezed out. She looked at the black dirt that was constantly flowing out of her palm, and knew that most of the poison had been expelled. Her vision gradually became clear. She quickly walked to Huagang and Little Six's side, wanting to use this method to pull out all the poison in their bodies. But this required the cooperation of the poison people. Yanran only relied on external forces. She tried several times but failed. And these people were already unconscious. How could she wake them up? Just as she was hesitating, she suddenly heard a faint sound. Not good, there was movement. Yanran had been vigilant. She knew that it was impossible for there to be nothing strange in this room. The previous rooms almost made them suffer a great loss. This room would not be so comfortable. Sure enough, a row of small green snakes slithered over from the corner of the wall. The head is large, triangular, The neck is thin. The tail is short and winding. The maxilla has hollow teeth, cheek pits, and venom glands. Yinran's pupils shrank, bamboo green snakes. Row after row, they drilled out of the cracks in the wall in all directions. Under the dim light, they were especially green. These snakes stared at the people in the room with their bean-sized eyes. They kept spitting out their tongues and raised their heads high, as if they were ready to attack. Yinran did not move. She knew that as long as she moved, these snakes would be faster than her. She was not afraid. These small snakes were not a threat to her. But there were still a few unconscious people on the ground. It was still a little troublesome. Yinran directly released a ball of flame from her palm. With a wave of her hand, dozens of snakes were immediately burned by the fire. The scene was filled with a burnt smell. The fire burned more and more fiercely. Because the space was small, dozens of snakes instinctively looked for a place to hide after being attacked by the fire. But wherever they crawled, Yinran's fire would follow. Most of the snakes quickly twisted towards the crack in the corner of the wall. They had just come from here. On the surface, it could not be seen. In fact, this room and the ground were not very tight. In order to facilitate the snake's movement, some small holes had been left in the seam. Yinran looked at the small snakes retreating and felt relieved. She had to find a way to take these people out. She had just taken 2 steps when she glanced. A green figure crawled out from under Huagang's body. Taking advantage of the time when Yinran turned around, it bit Huagang's shoulder. After Yinran glanced at it from the corner of her eye, she immediately burned the snake to ashes. But it was too late. The snake's fangs had succeeded. The poison spread through Huagang's body. Damn it, I can't get out now. The snake poison must be dealt with as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will spread to the whole body. No matter how strong a person is, they can't withstand this kind of poison. Yinran did not leave herself any time to think. She quickly walked to Huagang's side and pulled his clothes off his shoulders. She saw the muscles on his broad shoulders bulging high, showing the man's strength. But on his shoulders, 2 very clear snake teeth marks were engraved on them. Huagang's shoulder was bitten. The wound showed intense burning pain, causing the unconscious Huagang to be somewhat unstable. His shoulder swelled at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it developed rapidly. Soon bloody blisters appeared. This kind of poison moved quickly in the body. If it was not dealt with, it would spread to the whole body. Yinran no longer hesitated. She took out a knife and drew a cross on his shoulder where the teeth marks were. She began to help him squeeze out the poisonous blood with her hand. After squeezing dozens of times, the blood still did not turn black. Yinran's hand was very strong. Huagang's shoulder was already purple. But compared to the swelling at this time, it was a small case. Yinran no longer hesitated. She lowered her head and began to suck out the poisonous blood with her mouth. She sucked in a mouthful and spat it out. She sucked in another mouthful and spat it out again. Huagang was a little awakened by the pain all over his body. He felt that his right shoulder was numb from the pain, and at this time, there was a pair of hands squeezing hard. He was so uncomfortable that he wanted to turn over. He struggled to open his eyes, but found that Yinran's mouth was on his shoulder. At this moment his mind was blank. Happiness seemed to have come too suddenly. Yinran actually took the initiative to kiss him. He couldn't even feel the softness of Yinran's lips, but he knew that it must be the feeling he imagined. But at this moment, the double poison attacked his brain again, and he fainted again. Yinran looked at the blood she had sucked out. The color was getting lighter and lighter. The poisonous blood had turned from black to red. She felt as if a huge stone had been lifted from her heart. At least the snake venom would not cause too much harm. Just as she was about to take one last breath, her soft lips had just touched his strong shoulder when she heard a loud bang. A heavy object fell from the sky and landed in front of her. Chapter 131. Yi Xuanfei recalled her gem from the air and hung it on her navel ring. She walked up the stairs and returned to room 365. The people in the room were still unconscious, lying on the sofa and the floor with their eyes wide open. The LCD screen on the wall was still playing a pop song. Yi Xuanfei opened the door and walked out to the corridor. Everything was normal, as if everything that happened underground had nothing to do with the nightclub above. In the various private rooms, people were still unscrupulously displaying their desires and greed. Yi Xuanfei walked out of the nightclub and stopped at the entrance of an alley on the opposite side. She believed that it wouldn't be long before there would be follow-up news in the nightclub. Who had defeated who, and who had overthrown who? She would wait and see. Boss, a woman came out of room 365. She went straight out of the nightclub and stopped in the alley opposite. She should be waiting for someone. In a large private room on the 4th floor of the nightclub, there was a man standing by the window. His facial features were as handsome as a knife, and his whole person exuded the aura of a king. On his evil and handsome face, there was a dissolute and unrestrained sneer. This is just a shrimp soldier and crab general. She can't even find the way down. She can't make any big waves. Send 2 people to catch her and lock her in a small dark room. The real enemy is still trapped in the array. The man's low voice sounded. Go and invite Mr. Liu. But Mr. Liu is still resting. The subordinate lowered his head and reported. Then let's wait for a while. When he's done sleeping, the people in the array will be done for. The man lit a cigarette and leaned back in his chair, not nervous at all. Boss, do you trust Mr. Liu that much? His array is invincible? The subordinate saw that the boss was in a good mood and asked the question in his heart. The boss looked up and glanced at him coldly. Don't be disrespectful to Mr. Liu. If I hear you do it again, you will be punished. Then he explained. This kind of otherworldly expert is not someone you and I can guess. Yes, boss. The subordinate broke out in a cold sweat. How many mechanisms have been activated now? Because there are no cameras, we can't see their exact situation. But according to the activation of the mechanisms, they should have entered the 4th room. This group of people is quite powerful. The second mechanism. All the guns in the room have been destroyed. They can't be activated a second time. The poisonous gas in the 3rd room didn't stop them either? I'm not sure yet, but the fact that they managed to enter the 4th room proves that there are still people alive among them. How is the activation of the mechanism in the 4th room? The 4th room is very strange. Initially, I saw the snakes move, but after a while some of them crawled back. Looks like these snakes are scared. Haha, looks like Mr. Liu has met his match. What kind of opponent did you encounter? Is there anyone who can break through my inescapable net? An arrogant voice sounded from the door, and a middle-aged man slowly walked in. The man was of medium height and had a square face. He was dressed in casual clothes, and his eyes shone brightly. He exuded a domineering aura. Mr. Liu, you're awake. Yu Tian, who was addressed as the boss, hurried to greet him. I don't believe in fate. I only believe in my own fists. If there's anyone who goes against you, you must beat them down. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Yes. Mr. Liu, you're right. I didn't expect that someone would be so blind as to come here. What's the situation now? They've already entered the 4th secret room and haven't come out yet. Yu Tian replied respectfully. Being able to make it to the 4th room proves that they do have some skills. However, that's the end. No one has been able to experience the sourness of breaking through the 9 secret rooms I set up. My sky-raising formation has been passed down since ancient times. It can even raise the sky. What are you worried about? Mr. Liu was very confident in his formation. Yu Tian smiled and said, It's because I can't see the situation in the formation. That's why I'm a little worried. The formation is an illusion. Even if you install a camera, you can't see the real situation. When the last person dies, drag him out and bury him, then you'll see. Xiao Xiao felt that his spiritual power was expanding rapidly. His whole body felt like it was about to fly. He said in his heart, Kong Xiaoming. It seems like I'm going to advance again? Kong Xiaoming was overjoyed. You're really lucky to have picked up such a treasure. It would be strange if you didn't advance. Hurry up, flying fire meteor, go. Xiao Xiao was secretly proud. He muttered the incantation, making the golden bead in his body spin rapidly. This time, it was much faster than the previous times. In less than a second, a golden light had already shot straight into the sky above his head. It turned out that the totem hanging on his Baihui acupoint also responded to a part of the energy, adding an extra acceleration on top of the original speed. Xiao Zhao's magnetic field was magnified several times. Xiao Xiao had already felt the enormous power this time. It was like a huge wave on the sea, like lava flowing from a volcanic eruption, and even more like an unstoppable tsunami. Xiao Zhao's heart suddenly became alert. This is bad. With such a large amount of energy, it would have to destroy something to be equal. The small meteorite before could burn down a tree. Would it have to destroy an entire building to calm it down? These two scammers. They only cared about digging and not filling in. He was still at home. What if his house was destroyed? Xiao Zhao's heart moved. He wanted to lead this power to the back of the mountain. No matter what, it couldn't cause too much of a stir in the city. Just as he was distracted, the totem above his head suddenly changed a little. As if it had been summoned, the totem began to change shape. The original standard circle gradually turned into an oval, and then into a cone shape, pointing in a certain direction in the city. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming also felt it. They shouted loudly, "Oh no, the totem seems to be flying away. Hurry up and find a way to hold it." Xiao Zhao's face was full of confusion. Who taught him how to hold the totem? Just as Xiao Xiao was desperately trying to get the little tadpole to flip through the books in his head to find the answer, the totem seemed to have been activated. It directly took Xiao Xiao and flew to a certain place. He couldn't control his body at all. Moreover, he seemed to be advancing. Xiao Xiao could only follow this energy and fly continuously. Xiao Xiao was carried by the totem's power. He couldn't control himself at all. His whole body was being pulled out of shape. His 10 fingers were forced to open wide. It seemed that there were countless hands all over his body trying to separate him and break him into pieces. The bracelet on his hand showed signs of falling. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming were scared and shouted, "Xiao Xiao, hurry up and hold us. Don't let us fall." Xiao Xiao couldn't make a decision at this time. Hearing Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming's cries for help, he used all his strength to move his right hand little by little to his left wrist. He tried several times but to no avail. The bracelet at the joint was already loose. It would only take the strength of a mosquito to tear it off. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming were so scared that they closed their eyes and squatted down in the space. If they were lost, could Xiao Xiao find them? At this time Xiao Xiao shouted. The magic in his body exploded. The power of the flying flame meteor reached its peak and exploded from the inside of his body. At this time, Xiao Zhao's right hand finally moved to his left wrist. The moment the bracelet broke, he grabbed it with his right hand. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming were saved. The two of them were lying in the space, gasping for breath and sweating. But Xiao Xiao didn't stop flying at all. He had just completed his advancement. At this time, he was so weak that he couldn't even lift a finger. He didn't resist anymore. His fate was in the hands of the totem. At this time, he could only shout silently in his heart, "Where are you taking me?" Yi Xuanfei was originally waiting to watch the show in the alley opposite the nightclub. She didn't expect that Yu Tian wouldn't let her come and go so easily. Yi Xuanfei thought that she could come and go secretly. But in the headquarters of the underground vault, everyone was professionally trained. Those who entered and left the nightclub were members. Yi Xuanfei had already attracted the attention of the security guards when she swaggered out of room 365. She didn't leave in time and was still waiting opposite the nightclub. Wasn't she courting death? She was simply challenging the security guards' abilities. The security guards who received the order sent 4 people to walk towards the flirtatious and sexy woman opposite them. Yi Xuanfei was feeling smug. She was looking at Xiao Zhao's photos on her phone. When she saw the 4 burly men walking towards her, she didn't think much of it. She thought that they were here to hit on her. There were too many people who hit on girls in this kind of situation. There were all kinds of methods. Yi Xuanfei didn't expect that even the security guards would be so brazen. "Miss, please come with us." Yi Xuanfei didn't care at all. She continued looking at her phone and didn't even raise her head. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in you." The security guards saw that this girl didn't play by the rules and were furious. They looked at each other and immediately surrounded her. Yi Xuanfei then realized that these 4 people were here to catch her. She asked sternly, "What do you want?" "That's more like it." This answer was more suitable for someone who was about to be attacked. Our boss wants to invite you back for a chat to discuss the security of our nightclub. Damn it, they really found out. Yi Xuanfei glared at them. You want to catch me? She didn't say anything else. She cast a few spells and used her qi to draw a sword, waving it towards them. The 4 burly men didn't back down and immediately started fighting. But how could they be a match for Yi Xuanfei? Their hands looked empty, but their attacks were sharp. It didn't take long for them to be defeated. It seemed that her whereabouts had been exposed. It wasn't good to stay here for long. This nightclub wasn't easy to deal with. Yan Ran and the rest wouldn't have a good ending tonight. Yi Xuanfei thought about it. She couldn't get into trouble. She might as well leave first. She would know when she got back. While she was dealing with them, she didn't notice that the little blue star on her navel seemed to have received a message and kept flashing. Chapter 132. With a loud crash, Xiao Xiao finally landed on the ground. The fall made him grimace in pain. The dust caused by the energy fluctuation was all over Xiao Xiao's face. The first thing he did when he could move his hands and feet was to quickly touch his face to see if he was injured. A narcissistic person needed to rely on his face to act cool. He couldn't let it be ruined. Just as he peeled off all the dust in front of his eyes, he saw a scene that he didn't want to see in his next life. It was challenging his bottom line too much. Yinran's lips were pressed against Huagang's bare shoulder. The ponytail on her head was hanging down, gently brushing against Huagang's face. The scene was so beautiful that Xiao Xiao didn't want to look anymore. He fiercely closed his eyes and muttered in his heart, "Dream, dream, dream, this can't be real." Then he quietly half-opened his left eye. He saw that Yinran's face, which had been expressionless for thousands of years, actually had a frightened expression. She was completely stunned and maintained her previous posture. She had already forgotten what to do next. Xiao Xiao's eyes trembled and widened. It really was Yan Ran. But what was Yan Ran doing? Xiao Xiao's heart was filled with 10,000 alpacas. Xiao Xiao blinked twice. Yan Ran seemed to be awakened by this movement. She immediately raised her head, sat up straight, and tilted her head back slightly. She moved a body's distance away from Huagang. Then she asked the person who had descended from the sky in horror, "Xiao Xiao, why are you here?" Xiao Xiao had just come back to his senses, but immediately a sour feeling filled his chest. He didn't directly answer Yinran's question. Instead, he asked in a hoarse voice with uncertainty, "Yinran, what were you doing just now?" Yinran suddenly felt inexplicably guilty. She didn't think of anything when she was saving people, and only now did she realize that the scene was extremely ambiguous. Huagang's clothes were still on his upper body, but 2 buttons were undone from the collar. Even his underwear was directly taken off by Yan Ran. His entire shoulder and half of his chest were exposed. And just now he actually, for the first time, Yan Ran spoke incoherently. She stammered, "Huagang, no, several of my colleagues were poisoned, and Huagang was bitten by a snake. I was helping him take the poison." It was then that Xiao Xiao recovered from his shock. He looked around and saw that there were still a few people lying on the ground. "Then why didn't you help the others?" Yan Ran was speechless for a moment. The poison in the others can't be removed, but Huagang was bitten by a snake. "If we don't suck it out, he will die." After saying that, Yan Ran was annoyed. This scene was really hard to explain. "You're saying that you used this method to help the others just now. The poison couldn't be removed, and only Huagang's poison could be removed?" No, you misunderstood. What I said was wrong." Yan Ran took a deep breath to calm her wildly beating heart. She organized her thoughts and explained further. "We were poisoned in the room next door. Except for me, everyone else fainted. I tried to remove the poison in them, but I didn't succeed. In the end, we encountered poisonous snakes in this room. Most of the snakes were killed by me. One snake bit Huagang's shoulder, so I helped him take the poison." Yan Ran finished speaking in one breath, thinking that she finally made it clear. In Xiao Xiao's eyes, the white steam bun on top of her head was like a child admitting her mistake. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at others, nervously rubbing her hands. It seemed that she really did something wrong. Xiao Xiao didn't buy it anymore. He just said, "Oh," and didn't say anything else. Yanran looked at Xiao Xiao and didn't know if he believed her. But she had always been as cold as an iceberg. It was already very good that she could explain so much. Xiao Xiao's face darkened. How could things be so coincidental in this world? Of all the people she could give the poison to, she had to give it to that damn Huigang. According to Xiao Xiao, she should just poison him to death. However, he also knew that Yanran wasn't someone who would leave someone in the lurch. If he were in her position, he would probably do the same. But the hurdle in his heart seemed to have been erected. If he wanted to cross it, he would have to practice stretching. His heart felt as if it was stuffed with a large cold and hard stone. Even his breathing became more and more difficult. The tiredness brought about by the promotion hit him like a tide. He directly leaned against the wall, so tired that he was panting. Yanran only then noticed Xiao Xiao's abnormality. She hurried over and squatted beside him. Why are you so tired? Are you hurt? Xiao Xiao was angry. He looked at Yanran's concerned eyes and suddenly said in a fit of pique, I was bitten by a snake too. Yanran believed his words and was shocked. Where is it? How do you feel now? Let me see. It's on my left chest. Yanran immediately wanted to take off Xiao Xiao's shirt. Xiao Xiao stubbornly refused to let her. Yanran was anxious. Let me see. Xiao Xiao suddenly shouted. Are you still a girl? Why are you taking off men's clothes so easily? After saying that, he turned around and curled up against the wall, ignoring her. Yanran was shocked. Xiao Xiao had never shouted at her before. She suddenly felt wronged. It was as if there were tears in her eyes. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming winked at each other in the space. They quarreled. This melon looks good. Xiao Xiao gnashed his teeth. If you two talk nonsense again, I'll throw the bracelet away. Yanran also raised her voice. Were you bitten by a snake or not? Xiao Xiao angrily threw back at her. No, I lied to you. Yanran looked at her colleagues who had fainted on the ground. Then she looked at Xiao Xiao who was curled up in the corner. She felt wronged. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. She didn't want to talk to anyone, and began to look for an exit on the walls. Xiao Xiao saw that Yanran didn't come to coax him. He was even more upset. His face fell and he didn't speak. After a while he simply sat down cross-legged. He ignored the depression in his heart and began to adjust his breathing. Xiao Xiao's movement was very big in Yanran's eyes. But in fact he fell from the sky directly through another space. The totem helped him open a space door and brought him directly here. Yu Tian and Mr. Liu had been waiting for news, but they didn't know anything about Xiao Xiao's appearance. Xiao Xiao once again took out the sapphire. The totem shape appeared again. What he needed now was the spiritual power in the gem. The spiritual power began to spread around. It quickly spread to every secret room in the sky-supporting formation. The reason why Xiao Xiao was brought to the fourth secret room was because this room was the eye of the formation. His gem totem was attracted. Naturally, he had to take the most active position, the eye of the formation. Mr. Liu, who was resting in his seat, suddenly opened his eyes. There was a strange movement in the formation. How many mechanisms were triggered? Mr. Liu's eyes widened. He asked nervously. My subordinate reported that it was still in the same room. Strange, why is there suddenly such a big energy fluctuation? Could it be that these people are already so powerful? There's always someone better than you. I feel that this energy level is already at a level that even the Holy Void level can't reach. Be alert. Looks like there's going to be a fierce battle. Mr. Liu was on guard. Yu Tian couldn't help but be nervous. In his heart, Mr. Liu was like a god. He helped them design the security measures for the underground vault. For so many years, there had never been a problem. Many of the previous problems were also solved by Mr. Liu. In their organization, Mr. Liu's position was like a military commander and a state preceptor. Pass down the order. Everyone is on level 1 alert. Guard every exit. Yu Tian immediately passed down the order. Boss, should we close the door early? The subordinate asked nervously. Yu Tian looked at Mr. Liu for his opinion. Mr. Liu nodded at him directly. It seemed that the situation was really critical. Tell them to close the door early. Tell them that the police are cracking down on prostitution. Yes. Mr. Liu's eyes were shining with excitement. I haven't met a worthy opponent for so many years. I didn't expect to start a massacre here today. It's your bad luck to meet me. Let me give you guys something to feel the power of the ancient formation, the sky-raising formation. After saying that, Mr. Liu returned to his room and quickly drew 3 talismans in the air. He lit them with fire and shouted, "Go!" The talismans disappeared in the air. This was the sky-raising talisman that he had spontaneously cultivated. It was based on the original sky-raising formation and was developed according to the characteristics of each secret room. Its power was 3 times the original. Originally, the sky-raising formation was enough for people in this world to look up to. Now let's see where you guys can run to. The security guards in the entire nightclub were shouting, "Police are checking the rooms. Close the door early." Chaos broke out in each private room. The princesses and princes left one after another, causing endless curses. What if * king bad luck? I'm only halfway done. Do you want me to die without descendants? Let's go, the police are here. The police are here. What does it have to do with me? Get the police out of here. This was obviously a drunkard. He was helped out of the private room by his friends and walked to the door while cursing. As the people slowly left, the door of the nightclub was finally closed after an hour. The music that resounded throughout the street was also muted. The entire street was soon deserted. Even the security guards retreated into the nightclub. Only the big signboard with the words "Golden Age" was left shining throughout the street. The surrounding residents felt strange. Nightclubs usually stayed open until morning. When had they ever stopped before 3 o'clock in the morning? This was really big news. Someone just came out of the nightclub. I heard that the police are here to check the rooms. After that, the rumors became even more exaggerated. The police had already obtained the relevant evidence and were here to arrest people tonight. Someone even said, "There are drugs hidden here. The police are here to get rid of them all." But after waiting for a long time, they didn't see a police car coming. Where did the police come from? The police have never come to this nightclub. Since it opened, no one has dared to check it. Could it be that something bad is going to happen tonight? The surrounding residents' sensitive nerves were stirred. They had never encountered an abnormality, which made them feel nervous. The nightclub was on the right side of the street, and the residential area was on the left. At this time, the words "Golden Age" formed an obvious dividing point, separating the light and the darkness. Chapter 133. The secret room was filled with a sour smell. Except for the energy fluctuations caused by Xiao Xiao and the shallow breathing of a few people who fainted, the other sounds were made by Yanran knocking on the wall. Between Yanran and Xiao Xiao, there seemed to be an invisible barrier that neither of them wanted to cross first. Yanran looked for a long time, but couldn't find the exit. She simply gathered her spiritual power and prepared to directly destroy the wall. But at this moment, there was a rustling sound from both sides. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming shouted in the space, "Xiao Xiao, there's sand coming in from both sides." Xiao Xiao opened his eyes and looked. The wall really seemed to have become a fishnet with countless holes, and the fine sand formed a line of sand that was spraying out from both sides of the wall. Xiao Xiao glanced at Yanran and found that she was staring at the sand, thinking about something. He snapped, "What are you waiting for? Why don't you just punch through the wall?" Yanran was also angry and stared at him. "I have my reasons for not fighting." Xiao Xiao listened to Yanran's tone, and the grievance in his heart rose by 2 degrees. "You have your reasons for everything you do. There's so much sand, just wait for us to be buried." Yanran swallowed the anger in her stomach and explained to him, "We're on a mission. This place can't be destroyed at will. We're about to lose our lives. What else do you care about? Didn't you say that the people on the ground were poisoned? Are you going to let them be poisoned?" Yanran's tone was also angry. "Aren't I thinking of a way?" "Then have you thought of a way?" "No." The two of them, just like this, one after another, they argued. The two of them argued, and actually understood the ins and outs of the matter. Xiao Xiao knew that Yanran was here on a mission, and Yanran also knew that Xiao Xiao was brought here by a totem. "You're just a little girl, yet you're already shouldering such a huge responsibility. Is your human cultivation world so heartless? Can anyone feel sorry for you? Xiao Xiao couldn't help but complain after knowing the whole story. Yinran suddenly froze. She had never considered this question. She didn't even see herself as a girl. Ever since she was young, she had shouldered the mission of protecting the human world and received all kinds of training. Age was not a problem to them, and gender was not an obstacle. The responsibility was something that she had shouldered since she was young. It was already ingrained in her bones and could not be changed. Actually, when Xiao Xiao said this, he said that no one else would feel sorry for her. In fact, it was his own heart that ached. As the crown prince of the devil world, he was just lying in bed and enjoying his life. He felt that cultivating was hard, but Yinran had to cultivate and go to school. She also had to go on these dangerous missions. He finally knew why Yinran often told him that she was very busy. It seemed that she was indeed very busy, and quite dangerous. The bitterness in his heart seemed to suddenly dissipate. Yinran was silent, and so was Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao stepped forward, took her hand, and pulled her into his arms. Yinran still wanted to struggle, but she was stopped by Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao gently hugged her. "I'm sorry, Yinran. I was wrong. I didn't know that you were working so hard and tired. I was jealous." Yinran relaxed her tense nerves, closed her eyes, and leaned softly on Xiao Xiao's shoulder. She didn't say anything. In the dark secret room, the two people hugged each other. A kind of spiritual understanding and tacit understanding was flowing in the secret room. "You two stop kissing each other. The sand has reached your calves." Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming saw that the two people didn't solve the problem and were still being lovey-dovey, so they shouted in the space. Xiao Xiao looked down. Sure enough, the sand was flowing very fast. Now it had reached their calves. While they were talking, the people lying on the ground had already been drowned out of sight. Yinran, hurry up and save them. The two hurriedly dug the fainted people out of the sand and supported them against the wall. Everyone's nostrils were blocked with some sand. Xiao Xiao hurriedly helped them clean up. Finally, there was some shallow breathing, and they didn't suffocate to death. Yinran saw that the situation was urgent. If she didn't think of a way, these people would really be buried. She didn't hesitate. She directly used her spiritual power, and a wall fell down. Just as she guessed, there was another secret room behind the wall. But it was a secret room filled with sand, from the bottom to the top. The wall fell down with a rumble. Caught off guard, the sand in the room poured directly over the heads of the people. Even Yinran didn't expect that they would be buried directly by the sand. Not only that, along with the sand, there were some poisonous things buried in the sand, such as scorpions. Mr. Lu sat in the room at ease, feeling the spiritual power fluctuations in the formation. With the changes, he smiled knowingly. The fifth secret room had been activated. This was a tomb that he had carefully arranged. The people who entered would be buried alive. The feeling of sand entering their ears, throat, and nose must be very uncomfortable. Mr. Lu's eyes were full of pride. It was as if his masterpiece was praised by everyone. He couldn't wait to see these people's mouths and noses bleed and suffocate to death. Oh no, it might be a pile of bones. He forgot that he had added some little cuties to it. These little cuties had been hungry for a long time. Finally, they had a chance to eat a sumptuous meal. It was a pity that he couldn't see whether it was a man or a woman. "Boss, the mechanism of the fifth secret room has been activated," a subordinate reported to Yution. A bloodthirsty glint flashed in Yution's shrewd eyes. It seemed that the opponent this time was quite ruthless. They had actually broken the mechanism of the fifth secret room. Who was it? Would it be his next opponent? His previous opponent seemed to have died a long time ago. Duga Chobai. Interesting. The sudden pile of sand caught them off guard. It was at this moment that Yinran quickly set up a barrier, separating the fourth and fifth secret rooms. But a lot of sand still hit them. At that moment, the first thing that Xiao Xiao thought of was to protect Yinran in his arms. Then, he gathered all the devil chi in his body and used his sturdy back to withstand the attack of the sand. However, the pervasive sand and poisonous insects still poured into the collar of his clothes. Yinran had sharp eyes and saw it immediately. She cried out, "There's an insect on your back." These insects dared to compete with the devil chi. As expected, the moment the insects entered Xiao Zhao's back, They were killed by the devil Qi. But the insects' corpses and sand were still on his back, making him feel uncomfortable all over. Yanran, help me take out the insects' corpses. Yanran helped Xiao Xiao pull out his clothes. She shook them up and down, and a few scorpions and unknown insects fell out. It was too disgusting. Were you bitten? I don't know. Help me take a look. Xiao Xiao lifted his clothes, exposing his sexy inverted triangle back to Yanran. His smooth, white, and delicate jade-like skin glowed under the dim light. At this moment, a thin layer of sand had been spread over his back. The coarseness of the sand rubbed against his jade-like skin, instantly turning it red. Yanran carefully wiped him with his clothes, from his broad shoulders to his tight waistline. Yanran's face suddenly turned red. When she was drugging Huigang just now, she didn't feel anything at all. But Xiao Xiao seemed to have some kind of magical power that could make her blush, and her heart beat faster. Are you done? Xiao Xiao saw that she didn't move for a long time and asked. Yanran quickly came back to her senses. Yes. She pulled down Xiao Xiao's clothes. Xiao Xiao turned around and saw Yanran's red face, as if she was a little shy. He couldn't help but be playful. Finally get my handsomeness? Didn't you see my strong chest muscles? My tight waistline is passable? Yanran's face turned red. You're a hooligan. The nervousness of the mission instantly disappeared. As expected, hormones were a magical thing, a divine tool to relieve stress. Xiao Xiao said with a perverted look. Okay, let's stop joking. Now let's think of a way to get out. Yanran also became serious. It seems that we can't act rashly like this. If we open another secret room, and it's filled with water, won't we drown? This should be a formation that we accidentally activated. We can only get out if we think of a way to break this formation. Xiao Xiao didn't react, but Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming suddenly realized. Xiao Xiao, I know why you're here. It must be your gem. Its magnetic field is similar to this place, so it was summoned and brought you here directly. Xiao Xiao also had an idea. So you mean that the gem is related to this formation? Does it mean that it can break this formation? Kong Xiaoming began to show off. Didn't I say before that there's no formation that can't be broken? And there's no formation that can't be set up. It's such a treasure, it can do anything. Xiao Xiao looked at Kong Xiaoming's smug look and became angry. Then tell me how it can break this formation? Kong Xiaoming was speechless. There's definitely a record in the book, but isn't it lost? So you're a level 10 scammer. It's the same as not saying anything. Yanran looked at Xiao Xiao, who was staring at the bracelet in a daze. She pulled on his sleeve. What are you doing? I'm talking to the two people in the bracelet. These 2nd-century scammers are book spirits. They're always looking for broken and incomplete books. They even explain things clearly and logically. They've tricked me a few times. Xiao Xiao said, still brooding. Yanran's eyes widened. There's actually such a thing. You mean there are two people who can talk to you? Yes, then can they talk to me? That's not possible. I'm their master. They can't communicate with you. Yanran still felt that it was very magical. Xiao Xiao looked at Yanran's curious look. If you like it, I'll go back and find one for you. We have a lot of these things in the demon realm, but there aren't many of them in the human world. They can only be found by chance. I'll help you keep an eye out. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming saw that the two of them had gone off topic again. Boss, we're still in danger. Can we hurry up and get out? Then she muttered. Those who don't know would think that we're on a honeymoon. Xiao Xiao heard and was stunned. Then, he thought of something and laughed foolishly. Chapter 134. Xiao Xiao patted Yanran's hand. Wait a moment, I'll think of a way. Since I was summoned here, I should be able to think of a way to break this formation. But I can't rely on those two idiots. I can only rely on myself. Yanran was extremely happy as she grabbed Xiao Xiao's hand and said, You know how to break formations. Xiao Xiao looked at Yanran's expectant eyes, and his heroic spirit exploded. In front of his goddess, he absolutely couldn't drop the ball. Even if he couldn't do it, he had to do it. Believe me, I can do it. He had already bragged. The rest was really a bit difficult. Xiao Xiao sat down cross-legged. He had just advanced and hadn't had time to check his body's condition, nor had he had time to seriously study the totem's function. He had only used it as an energy stone. He didn't think that he would be forced to find a way to break the formation. Little tadpoles, cheer up and study seriously. My image in Yinran's heart will depend on you guys. Xiao Xiao ordered in his mind. The little tadpoles were ready as they took out the tattered book and began to study it. Xiao Xiao slightly narrowed his eyes as he silently chanted in his heart. He used his spiritual power to lift the blue totem into the air. The energy stone took effect and gave him the spiritual power he needed. Xiao Xiao opened his eyes and looked inside his body. He found that the golden spiritual power in his veins was flowing at high speed. Damn, why did it become golden after advancing? The golden bead in your dantian has already seeped into your veins. This is a good thing. Kong Xiaoming happily jumped around. Xiao Xiao looked at his dantian. Sure enough, the golden bead seemed to have grown countless hands and feet. At this time, it had already extended in all directions. All the veins in his body were inlaid with a golden border, and the golden bead itself was still slowly rotating in his dantian. Suddenly, a golden totem appeared above Xiao Zhao's head. It shone brightly, almost illuminating the entire secret room. The dazzling light even made Yinran close her eyes temporarily. Next to the totem, a 5-pointed golden star pattern slowly emerged. Within each peak, there were 9 small golden swords of different shapes, filling up the 5 peaks and forming a circular pattern, just like the picture in the totem. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming's eyes widened like copper bells when they saw the unbelievably bright totem and the golden lines. Yinran's mouth was also agape. Xiao Xiao, it seems that you have mastered the flying flame meteor. The small golden sword inside the totem has also come out. Look, it is the second picture in the book. Kong Xiaoming clapped his hands and shouted happily. The little tadpoles took out the broken book and looked at it. Sure enough, the totem in the second picture had changed. A circle of small golden swords filled the whole picture. The little tadpoles said, "Just now, it might have been the totem that advanced, not your flying flame meteor. No matter what kind of advancement it is, hurry up and find a way to break the formation." Xiao Xiao ordered in his mind. Yinran was influenced by the totem and felt the vigorous power in it. She also sat down cross-legged and released her spiritual sense with Xiao Xiao to explore the surroundings. The higher void stage was extraordinary. With the help of the totem's energy, Yinran could finally use her spiritual sense to penetrate the walls and feel the movements in the other secret rooms. She saw that in the 5th secret room outside the barrier, the sand was still filling up. Some of the sand had already been poured into the 4th secret room. However, at this time, the 5th secret room was filled up from the bottom to the top again. Those horrible poisonous insects were drilling in and out of the sand, faintly discernible. Some of them even saw that there was a feast here through the barrier, and crawled to the edge of the barrier. Soon the entire side of the barrier was covered with poisonous insects. They were so densely packed that it made one's hair stand on end. Yinran seemed to have seen the souls of those black insects through their bodies. It was a kind of evil, full of venom, and vowed to pull you into the endless dark abyss. Yinran released a gust of wind from her palm, which passed through the barrier and hit these black poisonous insects. Immediately, these poisonous insects were all sent flying, and their corpses slid down the barrier. However, soon, the waves behind overtook the waves in front, and another wave of poisonous insects pounced on the barrier. Yinran ignored these poisonous insects that disgusted her to death, and directly passed through the 5th secret room. Yinran spread her spiritual sense further. Sure enough, as she thought, the secret rooms behind could not be broken through. There was a very large secret room that was like an underwater world. Turbid water filled the entire room. There were no water plants, no sunlight, only some unknown fish swimming around. She did not know what ingredients were added to the water, but she often saw fish killing each other. If she was not careful, there would be a ball of red blood mixed in the turbid water. She didn't know how these fish managed to survive. Yinran felt a chill run down her spine. It seemed that the rooms they had passed through couldn't be any safer. Even she, a higher void stage cultivator, was somewhat helpless when encountering such a secret room. This underwater world was very big. Yinran used her spiritual sense to pass through it. It took her a long time to really swim in it, and then she could see more bloody scenes. There were all kinds of fish inside. Yinran found that one thing in common was that they all had sharp teeth. It seemed that they were all carnivorous fish. In this underwater world where the strong preyed on the weak, in this small enclosed space, if they were trapped in this secret room, how would they deal with these hungry piranhas? Yinran continued to explore forward. She passed through the bottom of the sea and came to the next room. This was an empty room. Yinran used her spiritual sense to explore, but there was nothing. She checked every corner, but there was still nothing. She was about to pass through this room and come to the next room, when suddenly a hole in the ceiling opened. A gust of wind came in from the hole. The sound became louder and louder, and gradually became deafening. Soon, it caused the effect of a landslide, and the whole room seemed to be shaking. The wind followed the hole and spun rapidly in the room. Yinran understood that this was a secret room with a tornado. She was about to pass through this secret room, when she suddenly found that there was something strange in the wind. This was not a simple tornado. There were sharp blades wrapped in it. If a mouse accidentally fell into it at this time, under the destruction of the wind, the blades in the wind would dismember the mouse into pieces and eventually turn it into powder. What Yinran wanted to do most now was to make all the poisonous insects in the 5th secret room and the fish in the 6th secret room disappear in the 7th secret room. Mr. Liu, who was in the room, suddenly felt that the mechanism in his secret room was open very quickly. He was completely using the energy waves to feel the changes in the secret room. At this time, there was a very fast energy wave that directly passed through the 4th, 5th, and 6th secret rooms to reach the 7th secret room. It seemed that this time, there was a master who was not only alive, but also passed through the rooms so quickly. For the first time, Mr. Liu regretted that there was no camera to see the scene in the array. Even if there was such a powerful master who passed through these secret rooms, at this time, he must be in a mess. He really wanted to enjoy it. There was still more for him to suffer. Mr. Liu was a little expectant. If he waited for this master at the exit, what kind of situation would it be? Yinran resolutely crossed the 7th secret room and directly entered the 8th room. As soon as her spiritual sense entered the room, she felt a burst of bright light. Yinran looked carefully and found that the room was full of mirrors. The mirrors were very high, from the bottom to the top. All the mirrors were connected together. They were placed in the whole room in a picturesque disorder, forming a passage. It seemed that this was a maze surrounded by mirrors. Yinran used her spiritual sense to create an illusory image of herself. She looked in front of the mirror, but she did not expect that the reflection was Qiao Zhao's appearance. Yinran was shocked. This was not an ordinary mirror, but a randomly generated appearance according to people's thoughts. It was too scary, using consciousness to control. What was worse, why was she reflecting Qiao Zhao? It was as if Yinran's thoughts had been seen through. Her cold face, which was like a snow lotus on a high mountain, flushed red. She continued to explore inside with her spiritual sense, but she found that this maze was very difficult to walk, and if there was a conscious interference, it would be an infinite loop. Yinran was glad that she was using her spiritual sense to break through. She no longer delayed, bypassed this secret room along the corner, and entered the next one. Yinran was a little irritated. She did not know when this secret room would end, and each one was quite terrible. It seemed that it was not so easy for them to get out safely. She did not know how Qiao Zhao was doing. Yinran evaluated. If she was alone, it would be fine. But if she had to take a few colleagues who were in a coma with her, it would be really difficult. She came to the 9th room, which was also empty. Yinran looked around for a long time, but she didn't find anything. It should not be. It was reasonable to say that they would not be able to pass so easily. But as a spiritual sense, she was not at the scene in person. Except for the things that could be seen by touching the mechanism, some other senses could not be determined. Yinran waited for a while, and found that there was still no movement, so she had to continue to move forward. In the next room, Yinran's spiritual sense went in, and found that Qiao Zhao was sitting in the same place, and several colleagues were lying on the ground. It turned out that she had circled around and came back. It seemed that the exit was difficult to find. There were probably only 9 secret rooms. Yinran withdrew her spiritual sense, opened her eyes and saw Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao felt a lot better after being nourished by energy during this period. He felt Yinran's gaze on him and opened his eyes. Xiao Xiao showed her an embarrassed smile. "I'm sorry, Yinran, I'm still looking for a way. Give me a little more time." Under the dim light, Xiao Xiao had thick black hair. Under a pair of sword-like eyebrows, his amorous peach blossom eyes had a seductive smile, which could make people sink into it if they were not careful. His tall nose and rosy lips were rippling with a dazzling, flattering smile. Yinran did not know what to think, and her face turned red. He was really a demon. He was everywhere. Chapter 135. Yinran cleared her throat, and her cold and noble face returned to normal in an instant. Then, she told Xiao Xiao about the situation of each secret room that she had explored with her spiritual sense. The more Xiao Xiao listened, the more his eyes widened. How could there be such a thing? Then aren't we quite safe now? If we accidentally entered one of these secret rooms, wouldn't we be in a sorry state and go crazy? It's not just in a sorry state. I can protect myself, but I can't protect my colleagues. Yinran's brows were tightly knitted. Xiao Xiao couldn't bear to see Yinran so distressed. He walked forward and reached out to touch her forehead. "In the past, I didn't know what was going on when you were on a mission. But today by chance I'm here. I'll definitely think of a way, so that you won't have to face it alone." With that, he smiled slightly, sat down cross-legged, and began his crazy journey of breaking the formation. Previously, he didn't know how to break the formation, because he didn't know the situation of the secret room. Now that everything was clear, Xiao Xiao ordered the little tadpoles in his mind to act quickly. When the little tadpoles heard Yinran's introduction, they automatically matched the formation in the incomplete book. Sure enough, they found the sky-raising formation, but it wasn't particularly similar. It should have been modified and upgraded by the person who set up the formation. The book didn't describe in detail how to break the sky-raising formation. There was only a simple picture. Xiao Xiao didn't have a way now. He could only rely on this simple picture to figure out how to break the formation. But now he found out why he was attracted to the 4th secret room. The main reason was that this was the eye of the formation. According to the book, it was only possible to break the formation by using the formation breaking technique at the eye of the formation. Bingo! This was it. This was simply the arrangement of the heavens. He could finally show off in front of Yinran for once. Xiao Xiao didn't hesitate anymore. He operated his totem according to the picture in the book. Countless small golden swords flew in all directions at Xiao Xiao's will. They quickly penetrated the 4th secret chamber and advanced towards the other secret chambers. The small golden sword carried a huge amount of energy. It pierced through the wall, and the golden energy swept through the various mechanisms in the secret room. The living creatures in the various secret chambers seemed to have met their natural enemy and fled in all directions in fear. However, before they could react, they had already been eliminated without a trace by the small golden sword. Yinran could see the 5th secret chamber directly. She saw that the barrier was covered with poisonous insects. They retreated quickly like a tide, but they were pushed back by the sand and other poisonous insects behind them, and they pounced on the barrier again. Before they died, the poisonous insects were still carrying out their last frenzied attack and bite. All the sand was stirred up by them. However, all their struggles were useless. Soon, the black blood of the venomous insects flowed everywhere, and the entire room was filled with the stench of their corpses. Yinran used her consciousness to continue exploring the various secret chambers. The 6th secret chamber was a terrifying underwater world. Xiao Xiao's golden energy affected the entire sea. The sea rolled up a huge wave and rolled up and down in the secret chamber. The creatures inside could no longer escape. They didn't need to kill each other anymore. They were already squeezed into a pool of mud. They couldn't escape. They could only sacrifice their souls in the constant spinning and rolling. Yinran's consciousness felt very good. These hateful, evil creatures deserved to be destroyed and crushed like this. They would never be able to rise again, and do evil in the human world. The sea was under the constant impact of the energy. It was desperately hitting the wall. They wanted to find an exit to escape. The sea seemed to have its own consciousness. It knew that there was danger there, and it couldn't stay any longer. So it began to crazily leak outwards. Finally, they found an entrance. The entrance was constantly filled with seawater. But now, the entrance had become an exit. The water in the opposite direction was desperately pouring outwards. They didn't care what was going on outside. They only knew how to keep looking for their own escape. The tornado in the seventh secret room was still blowing violently, but when it came into contact with the golden dagger, it seemed to have lost its rhythm. All the wind scattered in all directions, unable to form a cohesive force, and the blades that were originally added to the wind were all fixed on the walls on all sides. Without power, it was like a gentle wind was floating around the secret chamber. As for the hole that originally released the tornado, it was also swept up by the golden energy. With a cracking sound, all the mechanisms above were broken and shattered, falling into the secret chamber. No more wind could come in. The eighth secret chamber was the golden sword's home ground. There was no need to worry at all. All the mirrors in the maze were completely destroyed by the golden sword. All the mirrors were broken, and the glass was scattered all over the floor. However, it wasn't real glass. It was unknown what kind of illusion formed the glass material. Every piece of glass lay alone on the floor, unable to cause any wind or waves. At this time, only the four lonely walls were reflected in the mirrors. There was no way to reflect a person's soul. The maze was also unraveled without being broken, revealing its original square appearance. It stretched as far as the eye could see. Boss, it's not good. The seawater and sand in the secret chamber's mechanisms are constantly pouring out. The subordinate noticed the abnormality in the secret chamber, and immediately came to report. Yution was shocked. Could it be that they broke the mechanisms of the entire secret chamber? We don't know the situation inside yet, but there are a lot of poisonous insects and animal corpses in the seawater and sand that are pouring out. It looks very disgusting. The stench is terrible, and it's endless. It's about to fill up our reservoir. Find a way to open the reservoir, and let them flow directly into the river outside. We must not flood the treasury below. Yes, I'll do it right away. The subordinate accepted the order and left. Yution hurried to Mr. Lu's room. Mr. Lu had already sensed the movement inside the formation. He was sweating profusely, as he used his own energy to resist it. Using this formation consumed a lot of his energy. There was another formation in his room. He gathered all the energy around him, and locked it in an energy gem. At this time, his energy gem had already emitted a dazzling light, and there were signs of it shattering. Mr. Lu knew that he was in trouble. Could it be that his formation was about to be broken? Impossible, I will never admit defeat. Mr. Lu fiercely bit his tongue, and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the energy stone that was about to split apart. The energy stone that was about to shatter instantly closed and shrank rapidly, as if it had been injected with chicken blood, returning to its original complete shape. At this critical moment, Xiao Zhao's golden sword was operating very smoothly. But at this moment, he suddenly encountered a powerful force. When all the golden swords entered the ninth secret chamber from the eighth secret chamber, for some reason, it was as if they had encountered an iron wall. They could no longer use their energy to pass through. Xiao Zhao's energy also encountered a barrier because of this, and he spat out a mouthful of blood from the backlash. Yinran heard something strange, and opened her eyes. Xiao Zhao actually spat out blood. She was shocked and quickly rushed forward. How is it? What's going on? It seems like we've encountered a big obstacle. It should be the ninth secret chamber you mentioned. We can't enter. The other secret chambers have been broken. This ninth secret chamber is a little strange. When I went to explore it before, I couldn't see anything. Now that you've been blocked again, it seems that we have to be careful. As soon as Yinran's voice fell, they saw that their secret room seemed to have changed stars. All the sand, poisonous insects, and the enchantment of the fifth secret room next door disappeared. The two of them felt dizzy. Xiao Zhao shouted for Yinran, and immediately pounced on her. The two of them rolled on the ground. The scene in front of them suddenly changed. They were already in an empty room. When the two of them came back to their senses, Xiao Xiao found that except for him and Yin Ran, the others were no longer there. Oh no, we've been separated. Yin Ran quickly used her spiritual sense to probe around. When she searched around, she found that the fourth secret chamber was the same as before. A few people had fainted on the ground. Unfortunately, she and Xiao Xiao were now in the ninth secret chamber. Mr. Lu felt the strange movement in the secret chamber and laughed. I'll let you have a taste of the ultimate challenge of the ninth secret chamber. If you can still come out, I'll admit defeat. Yu Tian waited at the door for a long time, but Mr. Lu didn't open the door for him. At this time, he heard Mr. Lu say from the door, "Don't worry, there's something wrong with the previous secret chambers. Now they're in the ninth secret chamber. No one can break out unless they're Daluo immortals." Yu Tian's shrewd eyes showed worry. This was the first time he had encountered such a strong opponent. He turned around and ordered his subordinates, "Take the second plan and transfer all the assets in the treasury. Be quick." The subordinate was shocked. Is Mr. Lu's formation going to be broken? It's hard to say. Be prepared and nothing will go wrong. Yin Ran and Xiao Xiao, who were in the ninth secret chamber, looked around vigilantly. This was an empty room. There was nothing. Yin Ran had also searched before, but she didn't even see a mechanism. This place was very strange. There was nothing. Xiao Xiao knocked on the surrounding walls, ceiling and ground, but still found nothing. And there was no door or window. Could it be like the poisonous gas we encountered in the third secret chamber? The book said that every room in the Qingtian formation has its own special features. I've never heard of repeated mechanisms. Xiao Xiao asked the little tadpoles in his mind. What other mechanisms haven't we encountered? At this time, all the little tadpoles were retreating, only pushing the big boss to the front. The big boss gritted his teeth and said, "There's no detailed record in the book, but we've analyzed it. This should be a secret chamber that confuses the mind. We don't know how it works." Xiao Xiao was a little stunned when he heard this. What did it mean to confuse the mind? Yin Ran, this is a secret chamber that confuses the mind. Do you know what it means? Yin Ran didn't answer. She just stared straight at Xiao Xiao, opened her red lips slightly, and breathed seductively. Chapter 136. Inside the sealed space, a dim and ambiguous light shone in from an unknown source, covering Yinran's face with a faint halo. Her originally white skin had a satin-like texture. A few strands of black hair fell from her hair, brushing against the corner of her mouth and extending down her neck. Yinran sat leaning against the wall with her legs half-bent. Her head was slightly tilted, and her eyes were blurred. Her left hand was on the ground, and her right hand was tightly gripping the pants on her bent thighs. Just like that, she looked at Xiao Xiao without blinking. Seeing Yinran like this, Xiao Xiao didn't know why his heart suddenly beat faster. His mouth was a little dry, and his Adam's apple bobbed up and down. His right hand waved in front of Yinran's eyes, and he repeated his question. Do you know the meaning of a psychedelic mind? Yinran's eyes were bewitching and she murmured, I don't know. Xiao Xiao, I realize that you are really quite handsome. After saying that, she reached out a hand to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was stunned. He had never seen Yinran like this. Previously, Yinran was cold and expressionless, and didn't reveal much emotion. But now, Yinran seemed to have changed her soul. Her entire aura had changed, and she was seductive and seductive. Xiao Xiao reached out to hold Yinran's hand, and then he was pulled to Yinran's side by a strong force. Xiao Xiao sat down facing Yinran. Then Yinran directly leaned over to his face and said, Let me see how handsome you are. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Yinran to be so proactive. At this moment, his heart was beating faster, and his palms were sweating. Looking at the beautiful face magnified in front of him, his image was gradually magnified in Yinran's bewitching eyes until it reached the limit. As a man, if he didn't do anything now, he would be letting himself down. He grasped Yinran's small hand tightly, and cupped Yinran's cheek with his other hand. He then stroked the back of her neck, and pulled Yinran into his arms forcefully. Yinran was pulled into his arms. Xiao Zhao's gaze gradually moved down, and looked at the small face that moved his heart. Her alluring red lips were slightly open, and he encouraged himself in his heart. Kiss her. Yinran definitely won't hit me. Perhaps the light was too ambiguous, the space was too hidden, or he was too excited. Xiao Xiao closed his eyes and tilted his head, heading towards the red lips that he had been dreaming of for a long time. Feeling the softness, Xiao Xiao suddenly felt as if he had received permission. He was so excited that his lips moved forcefully, tossing and turning on the softness. His heart was beating faster and faster, and it was about to jump out of his body through his lips. He let nature take its course, and opened his sexy thin lips slightly. His little tongue, which he had never tried before, ventured out. Xiao Xiao suddenly felt his mouth being covered. Why did it feel like this? Yinran seemed to be pretty bold. He then felt his head being pushed back. Opening his eyes, he saw Yinran's hand covering his mouth. Could it be that he wasn't kissing? But, looking at Yinran's eyes that had regained their coldness, Xiao Xiao's eyes darted around, wanting to find a hole to hide in. Yinran said expressionlessly, "This is what it means to hallucinate the mind." Then she continued to explain, "I don't know what method is used in this secret room, but it can hypnotize people and create hallucinations." Xiao Xiao felt uncomfortable all over, and was so embarrassed that he didn't know where to put his hands and feet. He blushed and secretly looked at Yinran. "I guess I was confused by the hallucination just now, that's why. You won't blame me, right?" Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming in the space finally reacted. Just now, they saw Xiao Xiao directing and acting all by himself. Yinran was originally standing by the wall looking for a switch, but who knew that Xiao Xiao would rush up and pull Yinran's hand and kiss it with his eyes closed. Yinran was stunned by this sudden hand kiss. Other people would kiss the back of the hand, but she had never seen someone kiss the palm. It was so ambiguous and lingering, making Yinran's heart beat faster. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming reacted and laughed wantonly in the space. In the end, they laughed so hard that they rolled on the ground. Xiao Xiao saw their actions and realized that he had made a fool of himself just now. It was too embarrassing. He gritted his teeth in his mind. "If you laugh again, I'll leave you here forever." Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming's laughter stopped abruptly, but they still couldn't help but laugh secretly. Xiao Xiao was embarrassed and angry by their laughter. Then, he saw that Yinran seemed to be teasing him, and he felt even more embarrassed. He directly went up to Yinran and hugged her. "Don't laugh at me. I couldn't help it." He dragged out the last syllable full of coquettishness. Yinran couldn't help but laugh. "Okay, I won't laugh at you. Don't fall for it again." Then she suddenly asked, "Is my palm salty?" Xiao Xiao immediately covered his head and squatted on the ground. "Yinran, you've learned bad things." Yinran was indeed in the virtuality stage. When she entered the secret room, she only felt dizzy for a while, and then woke up. Xiao Xiao, because of his lack of concentration, fell for it for a while. Xiao Xiao was furious in his heart, and was bent on getting back his face. He didn't care and directly sat down and raised the totem gem. A huge energy wave appeared in the air, and the golden ripples rippled in circles. But for some reason, the golden sword couldn't be shown. Kong Xiaoming responded in the space. "Xiao Xiao, it's useless. The book doesn't say how to break this illusion array." Xiao Xiao didn't care, and kept gathering all his energy on the totem gem. He wanted to turn the totem gem into a bomb and directly blow up the secret room. Yinran also used her spiritual sense to explore the surroundings. After passing through the secret room, Yinran went down this time. As she thought her mission was underground, she saw that below this secret room was a very large underground warehouse, and rows of sealed shelves were full of boxes. The whole warehouse had nearly 10,000 boxes. At this time, a row of security guards were moving the boxes out. Yinran wanted to see more clearly, but this way was too spiritual. She could only make a rough judgment based on the energy fluctuation. It was consistent with the news she had received before. It seemed that someone wanted to transfer the stolen goods. Time was running out. Xiao Xiao's energy was getting more and more. The totem gem was constantly rotating in the air. The energy was like a sealed box, like a can that was about to explode, but it couldn't find an exit. The air in the space was being squeezed and deformed. Yinran shouted, "Xiao Xiao, stop. You can't do this. The secret room will explode." But she didn't expect that Xiao Xiao couldn't stop at this time. The huge energy had affected his mood. The biggest danger of this secret room was that it could control people's minds. With Xiao Xiao's mood fluctuating, the illusion of the entire secret room broke out to the extreme. Yinren only felt a buzzing sound in her head, and then it was as if she had floated into a nothingness. Her head was a little dizzy. When she was really awake, she found herself watching a little girl cultivate in the air. An old man beside her was desperately instilling in her, "You have to cultivate your skills to protect humanity." The little girl was very young, but she was very hardworking. No matter how difficult it was, she would grit her teeth and endure it. The summer was hot, and the winter was cold. She didn't rest for a day. As she slowly grew up, her skills became stronger and stronger. Finally, one day, she could go out on a mission. She completed her first mission and received her grandfather's praise. She never complained about hardships or tiredness. In the end, she was too precocious and too cold. It was a kind of indifference to life and death. She finally became a successful cultivator and a god in the cultivation world. She was too perfect and was worshipped by the cultivation world. Until one day, she failed a mission and caused a lot of damage to humanity. This was unacceptable to the people in the cultivation world, and it also greatly damaged her image. Because of this failure, she paid a painful price. She lost the spiritual power she had cultivated since she was young, and became a waste. The moment she fell from the altar, no one in the cultivation world was willing to catch her. Instead, they saw her as a disgrace to the cultivation world. At this time, the little girl was in great pain, and didn't know what to do. When she was abandoned by everyone, she jumped down the abyss. Yinran was already in tears. That was her own reflection. When the little girl jumped down, she crazily shouted, "No!" She ran behind the little girl and wanted to pull her back, but she didn't succeed. Yinran also fell down the cliff together with the little girl. Xiao Xiao had been fighting with the totem all this time. He gritted his teeth. For the sake of his face, he must pick up his face from the ground. The fire in his heart couldn't be extinguished. Now that the book didn't record how to break this illusion array, couldn't he rely on himself? The little tadpoles showed the broken pages of the book over and over again in his mind. There were a few half-words as hints to break the array. One was a strange ear, and the other was a strange hand shape. The way to break the array was really strange. It was like a child's play. It could even be called an unbreakable array. Xiao Xiao was speechless. He fought against the energy and couldn't let himself fall into the illusion again. At the same time, he was thinking about how to break the array in his mind. What did it mean to only have one hand? Xiao Xiao thought of his illusion just now. It must be his own thoughts that gave the illusion an opportunity. It was really embarrassing. His little thoughts were seen by Yinran. How did he come out later? Xiao Xiao thought for a long time. It seemed that Yinran pushed him to wake him up. In other words, there needed to be an external force to remind the person who fell into the illusion at that time. So how could he break it now? Where could he find an external force? Xiao Xiao opened his eyes and wanted to discuss with Yinran, but the scene in front of him made his teeth crack. A gap suddenly appeared in the secret room, and Yinran seemed to be in a daze. She cried and was about to jump down. Xiao Xiao no longer cared about the totem above his head. Magic burst out. He jumped and grabbed Yinran's arm that was about to disappear into the gap. Then he turned back and directly hit the totem with Yinran. At this time, the totem deviated from its original track due to the impact of the external force and flew to the side wall. The huge collision of energy made the whole secret room burst into a dazzling light, and the generated energy directly destroyed this floor and the floor below. The vault and the security guards who were moving things had nowhere to escape. Under the irresistible pressure, they were directly buried alive. The secret room was broken. Chapter 137. The earth quaked and the mountains shook, as if a building was about to collapse and a floodgate was opened. The energy from the secret room was overwhelming and rushed to the whole street unstoppably. In the middle of the night, many residents felt the earth quaking and the mountains shaking. They woke up from their sleep and ran out of their homes. Socks, shoes, and clothes were thrown on their bodies. Some of them were even barefoot. They were not afraid of scratching their feet on the rough ground. At this moment, life was more important than anything else. Just like that, their cold feet stepped on the equally cold cement ground. Everyone thought it was an earthquake. They quickly ran out of the building, only to find that the area where the Golden Age was located was shaking up and down. Soon, the 4-story building collapsed. Fortunately, the guests on the upper floors had been evacuated. At this time, only some security guards, Mr. Liu, and Yution were left to guard. When the formation was broken, the energy stone in Mr. Liu's room broke and turned into powder in an instant after the last flash of lightning burst out. Mr. Liu opened his mouth in disbelief and reached out to grab the energy stone. However, a gust of wind blew the powder away from his palm. Mr. Liu's mind was torn apart. His blind faith in the heaven-raising formation collapsed in an instant. He roared like a madman from his throat. Then the floor of the room he was in began to shatter. The load-bearing walls of the building could no longer bear the pressure and fell down in a crooked manner. The sound of the collapsing walls pulled Mr. Liu back to reality from the collapse. At the critical moment, he quickly ran to the next room, grabbed Yution's arm, and jumped out of the window with him. Yution was his bread and butter. He couldn't lose him accidentally. He had to save those who needed to be saved. As for the others, he couldn't do anything about them. Yution watched in disbelief as the Golden Age he had been managing for decades turned into nothing in an instant. Mr. Liu, what's going on? Did they break your formation? Yution asked with a trembling voice. Mr. Liu said sorrowfully, I didn't expect that this ancient killing formation would actually be broken. Now run away quickly. Save your life first. If you're caught by the group of people below, you'll die without a burial place. They're too powerful. When Mr. Liu said this, there was a look of horror in his eyes. Fear was contagious. Even if Yution's heart was bleeding right now, the wealth that he had managed for so many years had been destroyed just like that. It was as if a piece of flesh had been directly dug out from his heart. What could he use to fill the bloody wound? He took one last look at Golden Age, which had already been torn apart. The large golden signboard had been broken into several pieces from the middle, and now it was crushed under the broken wall like garbage. He had more important things to do now. He had to explain to his investors why they couldn't deliver the goods on time. Was he going to spend the rest of his life being hunted down? As long as I, Yution, am alive, this hatred must be avenged. Mr. Liu and Yution disappeared into the darkness with a few leaps. The other security guards were carrying Huagang and the others to the lobby on the first floor when they suddenly felt that something was wrong. They immediately carried them to the street. The subsequent collapse of the house made them panic. Seeing that their boss had disappeared, several security guards quickly left the scene, leaving Huagang and the others on the side of the road. Yanran and Xiao Xiao were directly thrown out of the house by the huge energy. As soon as they left the secret room, Yanran's mind gradually became clear. At this time, Xiao Xiao was flying in the air with her. Yanran watched the whole building of Golden Age fall apart. It was a failure. She didn't have time to wipe her tears. She quickly released her spiritual sense, wanting to explore the situation of the underground vault. However, she didn't feel anything except the falling steel and cement, and the security guards who were crushed. She quickly landed, and without saying anything, she was ready to rush in again. Xiao Xiao pulled her. Yanran, what are you doing? That place has collapsed. Huagang and the others are still inside, Yanran said anxiously. Xiao Xiao was stunned for a moment. He had completely forgotten about the existence of those people. He could only watch as Yanran flew in. He gritted his teeth, stomped his feet, and flew in after her. However, it was too chaotic inside. The collapse was still continuing. Private Room 365, which had entered the underground passage, had long disappeared. At this time, Yanran no longer hid her strength. Saving people was more important. She quickly moved the stones away, preparing to go underground. She knew that time was life. Only by finding them one step earlier could they have a chance to live. When Yanran finally arrived at the underground secret room, after going through all the hardships, she saw that the scene inside had already changed. All the illusions were gone, and even Huagang and the others had disappeared. Yanran sat on the ground in a daze. She covered her face with her hands. The tears on her face made her skin slightly rough. What had happened in the illusion just now was like a curse in reality. The mission had failed. Her comrades were missing. At this time, Xiao Xiao gently came behind her and patted her shoulder. Yanran, hurry up and leave here. It's too dangerous here. At this time, Yanran suddenly shouted at Xiao Xiao. I told you that this place can't be bombed. If it could be bombed, I would have bombed it. Now what? The mission has completely failed. Xiao Xiao was stunned by Yanran's shout. At that time, he was only anxious to save Yanran. He didn't expect such a result. Xiao Xiao didn't know what to say. It seemed that he had done something wrong again. He was about to explain something when suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, there was a thick cement pillar above his head that was about to smash Yanran's head. At this time, Xiao Xiao reacted. He directly used the devil's chi to fly up and threw Yanran to the ground. The huge pillar directly hit his back. Even with the devil's chi protecting his body, he couldn't withstand such a sudden weight. Xiao Xiao was hit a little hard and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Yanran couldn't hesitate anymore. She had to quickly take Xiao Xiao and fly out of the collapsed house. As soon as she arrived at the street, she saw a group of people lying on the ground. Yanran glanced at the resolute faces and the unconscious state. It seemed to be Huagang and the others. Yanran was overjoyed. Finally, there was a trace of comfort. She quickly contacted people and sent Huagang and Xiao Xiao to the hospital. This tense and extremely dangerous night was finally over. Early the next morning, the accident of the golden years hit like a flood. The overwhelming news reports dug up many unknown reports. Because the scene needed rescue, many people from the fire department and the news media came. The various excavated valuables could no longer be hidden. They were laid bare in front of the eyes of the public. The onlookers at the scene took out their phones to record the rescue process. First, they were worried about the people under the rubble. Second, they were shocked by the valuables excavated from the scene. After the earthquake, like for the firefighters at the scene, like for the people who donated the excavation equipment. Little Pine Tree. It's said that many people were crushed to death. The scene is too horrible to look at. A green leaf willing to be a safflower. It's an eye-opener. I've never seen so much money. Can a nightclub make so much money? Is it a legitimate business? A skyscraper breaking the sky. We have to investigate thoroughly. A nightclub can actually make so much money. They're exploiting the people. The public opinion on the internet couldn't be stopped. In the office of a government official, the computer screen was picked up and then slammed against the wall with great force. The secretary was startled. He came in and asked, "What's going on? Get me Elder Yan's call immediately." The speaker's eyes were red. He was breathing heavily. His 10 fingers were clenched into fists, and he hit the table with a bang. "Hello, Minister Tian. What can I do for you?" Elder Yan's voice came from the phone. "What can I do for you? Everything is screwed up by you. Is this how you so-called cultivators do things? Look at how the news is reporting now. There's a lot of scolding on the internet. I'm about to step down because of you." Department head Tian scolded Elder Yan to his face. Hearing this, Elder Yan was stunned. He slept well at night and believed that Yanran's mission would never fail. He didn't expect that the first person to call him was Minister Tian, the person who appointed this mission, before he had time to watch the news in the morning. "Did something happen?" Elder Yan asked carefully. "Don't you know whether something happened or not? How much loss did the failure of these missions bring to the country? Shouldn't the benefits of you cultivators come to an end? We've given you enough privileges. How could you make the mission like this? Think about how to finish it. If you don't finish it well, all the privileges will be taken away." Then the phone was hung up. The sound of the phone being thrown down shocked Elder Yan's ears. He quickly took the phone away. He called in his housekeeper and showed me the news this morning. He saw the news of the destruction of the golden years on TV and some comments on the internet. He knew that Yanran's mission had failed. Something big had happened. It was related to the honor and privileges of the entire Southern aristocratic family. After figuring out the ins and outs of the matter, he called Yanran at once. "Master, you don't need to call. Miss Yanran is waiting for you in the living room." The housekeeper came to report. Elder Yin came to the living room with a gloomy face. He was as black as the bottom of a pot. As soon as he saw Yanran, he slapped her. Yanran knelt down with a flop. Blood spilled from the corner of her mouth. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I failed the mission." "Do you think it's enough to just say sorry? Do you know how much loss you've caused to the world of cultivators?" Elder Yin flew into a rage. He could completely understand Minister Tion's feelings. At this time, he even wanted to kill Yanran. It was the first time that Yanran saw her grandpa so angry at her. She regretted it and had nothing to say. Mission failure was mission failure. She could only bow her head and apologize. Chapter 138. The big living room had been smashed into pieces by Senior Yan's fury. No one could bear the fury of a divine false realm cultivator. How could anyone survive his fury? Senior Yan was furious. Yanran was hit by his wacken and flew to the wall of the living room. "I trained you for so many years. Is this how you repay me? Don't you know the importance of this task? If you failed, you could retreat safely, and we could figure out another way. But you actually destroyed the entire house? Are you worthy of the trust one gave you?" Yanran had nothing to say. She couldn't defend herself. The situation was very critical at that time. Xiao Xiao had to save her. "Grandpa, the enemy is too powerful. They set up the sky-supporting formation. We all fell into their trap." "That's because you're not good enough. Go and receive your punishment. You know the rules of the cultivation world." Senior Yin drove her away directly. Yanran came out of her grandpa's house and rested for a while at the door. She suppressed the blood in her chest and went directly to the disciplinary hall of the Southern aristocratic family. The disciplinary hall was in a manor in the back of the mountain. It looked very shabby, but some details of the house showed its original glory. The heavy door squeaked when it was pushed open. The weeds in the yard had spread over the original flowers. It was obvious that no one had taken care of it seriously for a long time. At the entrance of the manor, two people were playing cards out of boredom. Wisps of yellow gas were emitted from the top of their heads, and they were complaining as they played. "What's there to look after in such a shabby place? There's nothing inside. It's a waste of my time. 1 against 2. It's not like they don't pay you. The work here is so easy and comfortable. A pair of kings. If it were in the downtown area, I'd love it. But it's in the wilderness. There's not even a shadow. That's so frustrating. 1 against 3. They asked you to look after the courtyard and cultivate here. The people of the discipline hall have to have some skills. 1 against 10. With my talent, I've been deluded long ago. 1 against K. You say that we cultivators are supposed to protect humans, but now that the human system is very complete, what do they still need us for? That's what you say. But isn't it to fight for some of your privileges among humans? It was easy to get things done with special privileges. 1-2. I don't think there are many families like the ancient martial arts families in the past. They are so noble and great, and their abilities are so dazzling. Haha, big ghost, I won. As the two of them chatted, they suddenly saw a cold beauty walk in from the door. Both of them were shocked. The person who came was Yanran. Not even one would come in a year. This is a private residence. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter, Yanran said expressionlessly. I'm here to be punished. Both of their eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. In all these years, no one had really come here to be punished. Miss, you're too honest. This place isn't finished just because you said so. I know, I made a big mistake, so I should be punished. Yanran continued expressionlessly. The two gatekeepers couldn't help but become serious. Although they were from the discipline hall of the cultivation world, there were very few people who really followed the rules like this. Miss, you have to be mentally prepared. The punishment here is very painful. I know. I'm receiving a first-degree punishment. The two of them widened their eyes. First-degree punishment? Could this cold-looking little girl bear it? Are you sure you've thought it through? The two of them confirmed again. I've thought it through. If I don't come out in 3 days, then you can directly report to Elder Yen of the Nangong family. The two of them widened their eyes and watched Yinran walk through the heavy iron door. The hospital was noisy. After Qiao Xiao and Hu Gang were sent to the hospital, Yinran left. Qiao Xiao's injuries weren't too serious. After all, he had the devil qi protecting his body. When the beam hit him, it also caused his qi and blood to surge. Therefore, he was discharged after 2 days. He called Yinran, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get through. This time, Yinran's mission had failed. He didn't know how she would end up. He once again came to the scene of the golden years, but the scene here had changed. The buildings at the scene were still collapsed like before. Rescue equipment, excavators, and firefighters were still at the scene. However, what made Qiao Xiao feel strange was that in one night, all the treasures in the underground vault seemed to have disappeared into thin air. He heard the discussions of the surrounding people. The surrounding residents felt as if they had entered a fantasy world. 2 days ago, they clearly saw a huge treasure vault below. How could it disappear so quickly? Qiao Xiao guessed that someone must have cleaned up the scene to make up for the impact of this incident. But why couldn't he get in touch with Yinran? Hi Qiao Xiao. A clear female voice came from behind. Qiao Xiao turned around. It was Yi Xuanfei. What a coincidence. We are fated to meet. Qiao Xiao rubbed her nose. It was quite fated that they could meet here. Yi Xuanfei came over after seeing the news. She had been here for the past 2 days. She wanted to know what happened to Yinran and the rest. However, it seemed that there was some trouble. The entire golden years had closed down. This was definitely not the result of the mission that Yinran and the rest wanted. She went back and told Old Master Yi about this. Old Master Yi smiled mysteriously. It seems that the southern aristocratic family is in trouble. This is a good opportunity for us. Yi Xuanfei took out her phone, as if she was presenting a treasure. Grandpa, I followed them on this mission and made a big discovery. Look, this is the video I recorded. After watching the video, Old Master Yi said, Ha ha ha, the heavens are on my side. This thorn in your side is going to be unlucky. Yi Xuanfei was proud. She had been at the scene for 2 days in a row. She felt that the magpies around her were happy to see her. What a coincidence, she had met her dream guy. Qiao Xiao, let's go eat together. Yi Xuanfei blinked her big beautiful eyes and twisted her small waist as she said to Qiao Xiao. At this moment, the sapphire star on Yi Xuanfei's belly button lit up. Qiao Xiao recognized it at a glance. This was the model of his totem. Qiao Xiao had already hung his totem on his chest. It was glowing faintly. Qiao Xiao quickly covered his chest with his hand. He didn't want Yi Xuanfei to know that he had such a treasure. Otherwise, he didn't know how much trouble it would cause. At this moment he suddenly heard Kong Xiaoming say in his mind, Go eat with her. She should have a book on the demon sky array. Qiao Xiao thought about it and agreed. If Yi Xuanfei had this gem, and she was Zixuan, she should know the secret of this gem. Maybe it was just as Kong Xiaoming said, that he had another book on the demon sky array. Thinking of this, Qiao Xiao suddenly revealed a big smile. In Yi Xuanfei's eyes, the whole sky lit up. Let's go, I'll treat you to a meal. Yi Xuanfei was overjoyed. She didn't expect Qiao Xiao to agree. She threw her original mission to the back of her mind, and was directly attracted by Qiao Xiao's smile. Qiao Xiao had this kind of charm. If he wanted to make the guests who were having dinner with him happy, he only needed to move his fingers and take the initiative to tell a few jokes. Naturally, the other girls would fall at his feet. Yi Xuanfei looked mature on the surface, and there were many boys chasing after her. However, they all knew her identity and were low level in terms of words and pursuit. Suddenly meeting such a high-level Qiao Xiao, Yi Xuanfei immediately laid down her arms and surrendered. During dinner, under Qiao Xiao's charming eyes, seductive smile and affectionate gaze, Yi Xuanfei told Qiao Xiao everything about her family, except for the fact that she was a cultivator. But it was already revealed between the lines. When she drank an entire bottle of red wine, she was already a little dizzy. Finally, she told him the origin of the little blue star. It was a treasure passed down in their family. It could be used to set up arrays and also to break arrays. There were many secret manuals like this in their family. Xiao Xiao showed great interest. He told Yi Xuanfei that he wanted to worship this ancient book. In exchange, he was also prepared to bring an ancient book to Yi Xuanfei. According to Xiao Xiao, this ancient book was the family treasure and would only be passed down to the direct descendants of the family. He was only willing to take it out because of Yi Xuanfei. If it was someone else, they wouldn't even have a chance. Under Xiao Zhao's sweet words, Yi Xuanfei could no longer resist Xiao Zhao's gentle attacks. She immediately agreed that she would bring it to Xiao Xiao next time. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming gave each other a thumbs up in the space. Xiao Xiao, you were born to be an actor. And you would definitely be a top star. Your acting skills were superb. Indeed, as long as Xiao Zhao's eyes moved, the starry night sky would appear in front of him. As long as Xiao Zhao's lips curved, Yi Xuanfei's soul would be hooked. As long as Xiao Zhao's finger moved, Yi Xuanfei would wish that he could become the air around his finger. As long as Xiao Zhao's tongue licked, Yi Xuanfei would wish that she could replace the rice at the corner of his mouth. Finally, the meal was over. Both the guests and the host enjoyed themselves. Xiao Xiao gentlemanly sent Yi Xuanfei home. On the way home, Kong Xiaoming couldn't hold it in anymore. Xiao Xiao, did you realize that Yi Xuanfei is especially attracted to you? Her eyes are completely glued to you. Don't you feel uncomfortable? The more Kong Xiaoming looked, the more he felt that something was wrong. Xiao Xiao stopped smiling. Could it be that I've seduced her too much? Kong Ming frowned. It should be because of the male and female totems between the two of you. This girl is obsessed with you. There are too many people who are obsessed with me. She's not one of them. This kind of obsession is not simple. You have to be careful. Didn't you guys dig a hole for me to find that skyscraper array book? What should I do now? Kong Xiaoming shrunk his head. He thought embarrassedly, Xiao Xiao, you're too charming. Who knew that you could charm her to this extent? Xiao Xiao also had a headache. Forget it. We'll ignore her after we get that skyscraper array book. Otherwise, Yanran will be angry. Chapter 139. Yanran walked through the door. The door was heavy as if it was made of gold. It slowly closed behind Yanran, isolating all the disturbances outside. This place looked like a room, but it was more like a torture room. There were all kinds of mechanisms inside, so there was no need for someone to carry out the punishment. As long as one walked to the corresponding position, the punishment would fall. Yanran looked at the rusty torture instrument. The blood on it had already dried up, and the dust had already accumulated more than an inch. The cobwebs in the room were swaying in the air, due to the wind brought by the iron door. In the end, should she be happy that no one came to receive the punishment, or should she be disappointed? After generations of inheritance, the current southern aristocratic family had changed. Yanran expressionlessly looked at the row of torture instruments. She had to endure the torture of 3 torture instruments, for a total of 6 hours. She first walked to the side of a chair, and pressed her hands on a crystal ball-like shelf. The crystal ball began to spin, slowly extending a silver halo, firmly binding Yanran from head to toe. Yanran felt that she could still move her hands and feet, but her spiritual power was locked. She knew that the most difficult thing to endure when being punished was not having the support of spiritual power. She had to be like an ordinary person to feel the pain. Then, she walked to the first shelf, which was made of iron. A thick iron pillar stood erect, taller than Yanran's head. The horizontal pillar was just an inch above her shoulder. Yanran stood on it. She needed to stand on tiptoe to reach the horizontal pillar. She opened her hands and pressed a mechanism on the side. Immediately, her wrists were locked by 2 iron rings on the horizontal pillar. Then in front of her, a leather whip like iron lashed out at her back. Yanran was caught off guard, and spat out a mouthful of blood from the whip. At this time it could not be stopped. The mechanism could not be changed. Whip after whip lashed out at Yanran's back. Yanran bit her lips, and endured the whipping. Her back was burning with pain from the whipping. Soon, the clothes on her back were ripped open, and the whip landed directly on her flesh. Yanran gritted her teeth, and endured the pain. Her head was already covered in sweat, and her clothes were drenched in sweat. Blood was gradually seeping out of her back. Yinran's little white steam bun was locked in the crystal ball at this moment. Seeing its owner being punished like this, it immediately burst into tears. Yinran struggled to open her eyes. She glanced at her spiritual power in the crystal ball and weakly closed her eyes again. The whipping lasted for nearly 2 hours. In the end, Yinran could no longer feel the pain. The numbness on her back made her a little absent-minded. She recalled the hard training she used to do when she was a child. She had felt the same way before, but at that time, there was a belief supporting her. No matter how hard it was, she was still the protector of the human world. This was the responsibility on her shoulders. Now it was this belief that was supporting her. It was supporting her to endure, supporting her to pay the price for her mistakes. 2 hours later, Yinran walked down from the torture device and came to the second torture bed. She could only lie down now because her back could not touch any foreign objects. She stretched her fingers forward and put them into a condom. There was a nail in the condom. She put it into her fingers and tightened it. A piercing pain attacked Yinran's nerves. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. Every time she tightened it, it was like torture. Every 10 minutes, the nail would automatically tighten, and the tightening time was 1 minute. In order to resist the piercing pain, Yinran could only adjust her breathing. Every time the nail tightened, Yinran was like a fish out of water. She took in big breaths and contracted all the strength in her body to resist the pain from her fingers. Yinran felt that her fingers were obviously swollen, but she did not give up. Now she could not escape. Once the punishment was started, it could not be stopped. Her little white steam bun had no tears in her eyes. She looked at Yinran blankly. She watched her master curl up into the shape of a shrimp on the bed. She kept twitching. Every time she twitched, the little white steam bun would tremble. It was as if the nail was also clamped on her fingers. Soon, Yinran fainted from the pain. This was a good thing for her. Once she fainted, she would not feel the pain anymore. However, she did not faint for too long. At most 15 minutes later, she was woken up by the pain. Over and over the cycle repeated. Little white steam bun was very distressed. When would this end? The 2-hour punishment finally ended. Yinran had completely fainted. After 2 days of rest, Xiao Xiao returned to school. However, Yinran still did not come to school. Xiao Xiao could not help but worry. However, he did not know who to ask. At this moment, he realized that he knew nothing about Yinran's family and social circle. The only person he knew was the Hua gang that he hated. Hello, Xiao Xiao. After class, a clear female voice came from the door. Xiao Xiao looked up. The flirtatious Yi Xuanfei had finally changed her outfit. She was no longer wearing a short dress that exposed her navel. Instead, she was wearing her school uniform. At this moment, she was standing by the window. The window covered the area below her waist. She smiled brightly and waved at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao walked out of the classroom and saw Yi Xuanfei's entire body. F***ck. He had come to a conclusion too early. This flirtatious girl still could not change her flirtatious nature. She was wearing her school uniform that exposed her navel. She tied the hem of her school uniform into a knot at her waist, revealing her beautiful navel ring. The school uniform skirt below was indeed proper. However, what was with the stockings and the 2 garters that extended down to her thighs? Xiao Xiao retracted his gaze from Yi Xuanfei's garter belts, but his gaze pleased Yi Xuanfei. She swung her wavy hair proudly. A burst of rose fragrance wafted into Xiao Xiao's nose. Xiao Xiao really wanted to sneeze. He suddenly remembered that Li Shaner had used her hair to seduce him. The lesson from the past made him take a step back immediately. Yinran's lavender fragrance was still the best. Yi Xuanfei saw Xiao Xiao's reaction and thought that he was shy. She pursed her lips and smiled at him. Brother Qiao, I found the book you wanted. Let's go look at it together after school, okay? Xiao Xiao was overjoyed when he heard that Yi Xuanfei had found the skyscraper he wanted so quickly. However, he did not show it on his face. I didn't bring the book I wanted to lend to you. Why don't we exchange it after I get it tomorrow? Yi Xuanfei quickly waved her hand. It's okay. You can bring it to me anytime. This book is a little special. Because it's our family heirloom, my grandfather keeps a close eye on it. I can only take it out for you to take a look. I still have to bring it back tonight. I want to go with you this afternoon. Is that all right? Yi Xuanfei blinked her big eyes in anticipation, trying to wink her way into Xiao Xiao's heart. Xiao Xiao was just an excuse. At this moment, he went with the flow and smiled brightly. Okay, let's go together after school. Yi Xuanfei walked away satisfied. Xiao Xiao immediately began to give orders to the tadpoles in his mind. The mission this afternoon can only be a success, not a failure. He will read page by page seriously. And what we need is the ability of the tadpoles to remember everything they see. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming were also prepared. They had to absorb all the content of the skyscraper formation. They could not always be half-baked, and caused Xiao Xiao to make a big mistake. Yinran was unconscious until night time. When she woke up again, the only window in the room was already empty. The dim moonlight did not seep in much through the window. At this moment, Yinran's face was as pale as a ghost. Her whole body was in pain, especially her back and fingers. They were burning like needles, reminding Yinran of the torture she had gone through. She was willing to do all this. There was only one last torture. She had to grit her teeth and endure it. She climbed down from the bed. Her movement stirred up a layer of dust. Yinran, who loved cleanliness the most, was in such a sorry state that she could not care less about it. She walked towards the third torture device. It was a rope around her neck. She had never seen this torture device before. She did not know what it was, but there was a diagram beside the device. It meant to put the rope around a person's neck. Yinran sat there unflinchingly and put the rope around her neck. The mechanism was activated. The rope suddenly shrank. Yinran was suddenly choked and could not breathe. Soon she felt a suffocating pain. She could not help but want to grab the rope around her neck with both hands. However, because of the torture just now, her fingers were too swollen and had no strength at all. When she trembled and touched the rope around her neck, her whole head was filled with blood. Yinran felt that her face was swollen like a balloon that was about to burst. Her hands did not have the strength to grab it. She could not see or hear. When Yinran finally could not hold on any longer, the rope finally loosened. Yinran immediately broke free. She felt nauseous, but her vision and hearing immediately recovered. She gasped for breath. However, just 10 minutes later, the rope began to shrink again. 2 hours and 120 minutes. One time every 10 minutes. She had to endure the torture 12 times. Fortunately, I just need to endure another 11 times, and it will be over. Yinran said in her heart. Every time she suffocated, Yinran felt the taste of death. This taste made her forget the pain on her back and the swelling on her hands. However, what was more painful was the hoarseness in her neck. Her neck was almost broken. Her head and upper body were in a state of separation. The torture of suffocation made Yinran want to just die every time. However, the unwillingness in her heart supported her belief to live. There were still people in this world that she cared about. Her grandfather, her brother, her parents. A handsome and roguish smile appeared in front of Yinran's eyes. Yinran, do you see how handsome I am? From now on, I will not do anything you don't like. I will stay away from people you don't like. You are my goddess. I can't bear to make you unhappy. This should be one of her worries as well. Chapter 140. Just as Yinran was being punished, a handsome couple walked out of the school gate. It was Xiao Xiao and Yi Xuanfei. They were on their way to the cafe. Yi Xuanfei spoke excitedly along the way. Xiao Xiao listened absent-mindedly, and occasionally responded with a smile. Xiao Xiao was as bright as a spring flower in Yi Xuanfei's eyes. He didn't need to say anything, he just needed to be by her side. Xiao Xiao was a little uneasy, because he couldn't contact Yinran. Hee, come back to your senses. What is Xiao Xiao thinking about? Yi Xuanfei jumped in front of Xiao Xiao and blocked his path. She waved her hand in front of his eyes. Xiao Xiao's thoughts were interrupted. He stopped in his tracks and smiled embarrassedly. I was thinking about something just now. What are you talking about? I'm talking to you. The hip-hop finals are in my hometown. I'll bring you there to have fun. Oh, the location of the finals is out. Isn't it in Nanchuan? Xiao Xiao was a little surprised. He didn't expect the finals to be so far away. Yes, this finals is more sensational than any of the previous ones. That's why they found the most prosperous city in the East. They want to attract the attention of the whole country, and even the whole world. Oh, Xiao Xiao didn't feel anything. It was the same to him. He would definitely be the champion. But Yi Xuanfei was different. The competition in her hometown was equivalent to her home ground. She would definitely be the champion. But with Xiao Xiao as a competitor, she had more extravagant hopes. Do you think the two of us should team up and win the championship? Yi Xuanfei blinked her big eyes. Xiao Xiao was about to agree when he suddenly remembered Yanran's unhappy look. He immediately changed his tone and said, "We'll see the competition rules. Let's go and have coffee first." Everything Xiao Xiao said was good. Everything he said was right. Yi Xuanfei felt that this was the feeling of first love. Her heart was filled with him. After the two of them sat down at the cafe, Yi Xuanfei took out her family heirloom and handed it to Xiao Xiao. "Xiao Xiao, this is my family's ancient book. Take a look." Xiao Xiao took the book and took a look. It was obviously a handwritten copy. On the cover were the words Demonic Sky Array, which was exactly what he needed. Kong Xiaoming jumped up and down. "That's great. It should be a handwritten copy of our original book." Xiao Xiao didn't show any surprise on his face. Instead, he said to Yi Xuanfei, "This thin book is your family heirloom?" Yi Xuanfei looked at Xiao Xiao in disdain and hurriedly explained, "Don't think that he copied this book by hand. It's very useful." "What is this? It's so crudely drawn. I can't understand it at all." Xiao Xiao pretended to be disgusted. He flipped through the book page by page. The little tadpoles in his mind quickly moved all the contents of the book into the room. The book was actually very complete. The missing pages and missing words had finally been filled in. Xiao Xiao could feel the excitement of the little tadpoles in his mind, and the trembling of Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming in the space. Even the blue totem on his chest started to sway slightly. Xiao Xiao pressed his chest and stopped the totem from moving. He finished reading very quickly. After getting the confirmation from the little tadpoles, he returned the book to Yi Xuanfei. "I'm sorry. Maybe this book is too profound. I can't understand it at all." Yi Xuanfei had expected this result. As long as one wasn't a cultivator or someone who studied arrays, this book was useless. To her this was a treasure. But to an ordinary person like Xiao Xiao, it was really an insignificant object. This was also something that Yi Xuanfei could show off to Xiao Xiao. She needed to show off her abilities to make Xiao Xiao acknowledge her and worship her. She took the book and put it away properly. She smiled at Xiao Xiao and said, "It's okay if you can't understand this book. I have many other books at home that you should be able to understand. I'll bring them to you next time. They are all ancient books and are very precious. Your family seems to be very powerful." Xiao Xiao pretended to be envious. "It's all right. I'll bring you to my house the next time you go to the competition." Xiao Xiao wasn't in the mood to stay with Yi Xuanfei anymore. He still had to find a way to contact Yanran and see what was going on with Yanran. They hadn't seen each other for a few days, and he missed her. Then today, before Xiao Xiao could finish speaking, Yi Xuanfei suddenly looked as if she had discovered a new continent. "Xiao Xiao, look at Tieba. What's going on?" With that said, she showed her phone to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao saw a video on Tieba. Hashtag high school students showing their passion in a nightclub. Hashtag Xiao Xiao's eyes widened. The video actually showed Huagang and Yanran. The location of the shooting was a luxuriously decorated nightclub. The lights were dim, and loud music could be heard in the video. The angle of the video was very clear. The expressions on their faces, the movements of their hands, and even the slight trembling of their eyelashes were vividly portrayed. At first, the two of them seemed to be walking normally. Suddenly, Huagang pulled Yanran and pressed her against the wall. Huagang hugged her with both hands. At first, Yanran seemed to have pushed him away. But in that instant, Yanran seemed to have given in. Then, Huagang whispered something in her ear. Then, Huagang's kiss went straight for Yanran's neck. This kiss landed firmly on Yanran's slender swan-like neck. At this moment, Yanran tilted her head and deliberately stretched her neck, as if she was welcoming Huagang's kiss. Xiao Xiao's eyes were surging with waves. His eyes were dark and bottomless. Xiao Xiao, control your demonic aura. Your demonic aura is about to leak out. Kong Ming suddenly shouted in the room. Xiao Xiao immediately came back to his senses. He suppressed his demonic aura. At this moment Yi Xuanfei said, I really couldn't tell. Yanran and Hua Gang from your class are actually a couple. This puppy love is real. Will the school punish you? Xiao Xiao, someone uploaded this video from Weibo. It seems to have quite a big impact. Will Yanran and the rest be okay? Xiao Xiao couldn't bear to listen to Yi Xuanfei's heart-wrenching words. He took a deep breath and said to her, That's all for today. I have something to do. I'll leave first. He didn't go home. Instead, he went straight to the back of the mountain. He didn't want to suppress his demonic aura anymore. He wanted to kill Huagang. His Yanran was so pure and beautiful. How could she be tarnished by such a person? He believed that Yanran was innocent. Since the two of them had appeared at the nightclub, it meant that they were on a mission together that night. It must have been Huagang who took advantage of the situation. He released all his demonic aura. The air around the back of the mountain was compressed by him. Kong Xiaoming shouted in the room, Xiao Xiao, you have to control yourself. Your demonic aura is about to destroy everything around you. At this moment, Xiao Xiao wanted to destroy the world. He especially wanted to destroy Huagang, that bastard. He directly swept the surrounding trees. Under the destruction of his demonic aura, the trees were crying and the sky was roaring. With him as the center, a circle was drawn, and all the trees within a radius of 5 miles had their treetops cut off. Kong Ming was stunned. Xiao Xiao, you have now advanced to the top. After venting, Xiao Xiao's face darkened. He went to Huagang's ward in the middle of the night. The poison in Huagang's body had been removed. He was in the recovery stage and had already fallen asleep. But because of his long-term cultivation, his senses were different from ordinary people's. He woke up as soon as there was a sound from the window. The person who came didn't say anything and punched him in the face. Huagang was caught off guard. He quickly used all the spiritual power in his body to fight back. When he finally saw who the person who hit him was under the moonlight, he sneered. Xiao Xiao, you came looking for a beating. Both of them used their full strength. The room in the ward was too small. The two of them fought back to the back of the mountain. Xiao Xiao didn't care about hiding his demonic aura. He gathered his strength and swore to teach this scum a lesson. Huagang didn't show any mercy. He finally found an opportunity. New hatred and old hatred surged in his heart. Huagang found that Xiao Xiao had become very powerful. He was even stronger than him. This time, Xiao Xiao completely beat him. When he was pressed under Xiao Xiao's body, he looked at Xiao Xiao's angry face. His eyes were red and his face was ferocious. He sneered. Xiao Xiao, you finally stopped hiding. You devil. I can't beat you today. But one day the cultivation world will destroy you. Huagang, you've already lost to me. Killing you is as easy as killing an ant. What kind of gentleman are you in the cultivation world? Someone like you actually dared to sully other people's innocence. You are the devil. Haha, you are talking about the video. No wonder you are so agitated. Let me tell you, Yanran is mine. She and I are childhood friends. You are a devil, and you still have delusions about Yanran. How much do you know about her? Do you know how much responsibility and mission she's shouldering? Other than being a burden to her, what else can you give her? Huagang's eyes were fierce. He used all the strength in his body to roar. I am not as good at scheming as you, but I can give her the whole world. Xiao Xiao roared out his heart. What a joke. You can't even protect Yanran when she is being punished. And you still say you can give her the whole world? Save it. I think you should go home and drink milk. Huagang's mouth was full of blood. When he sneered, it was especially terrifying. What did you say? Yanran is being punished. Why? Xiao Xiao's hand paused for a moment. Then, he continued to tighten his grip. She has to be punished if she fails the mission. The punishment in the cultivation world is not something you can imagine. At least 3 layers of skin will be peeled off. If you have the ability, you can take it on her behalf. Huagang squeezed these words out from between his teeth. When Xiao Xiao heard this, he tightened his grip on Huagang's neck. Don't you dare lie to me. Hua Gang exerted all the strength in his body and bit Xiao Zhao's arm. Xiao Zhao loosened his grip slightly. Hua Gang roared, "I didn't lie to you. Go and see for yourself. It is in the villa behind." Xiao Zhao saw that Hua Gang did not seem to be lying. He stood up while panting. He ignored Hua Gang on the ground and flew towards the villa. Chapter 141. The night sky was divided into two parts by the moonlight. One part was dark, and the other part was bright. Xiao Zhao flew in the dark night. Finally, under the faint moonlight, he found the manor at the back of the mountain. It was empty and overgrown with weeds. A few simple and unadorned houses surrounded the manor. The main gate of the manor was broken. Xiao Zhao pushed open the gate. It creaked but was not locked. Xiao Zhao began to doubt Hua Gang's words. How could he be so stupid? Maybe it was an excuse for him to escape. He carefully observed the few houses. Only one of them seemed to have been visited by someone before. There were a few handprints on the door handle. They were clearly imprinted by the thick layer of dust. Xiao Zhao listened attentively. There was only silence. Only the sound of gears moving could be heard from the room. It was especially eerie and cold in the empty villa. At this moment, the blue totem on Xiao Zhao's chest emitted a faint light. Xiao Zhao did not know why, but he reached out to suppress the uneasiness in his chest. Kong Xiaoming said, "As long as the demonic sky array detects an array in the surroundings, it will alert you." "Then it seems that this is the place I am looking for. Hua Gang did not lie to me." Xiao Zhao did not dare to be careless. He slowly opened the door, but the room was empty. There was nothing in it except for the spider webs and two broken beds. At this moment, the totem on his chest trembled even more violently. Xiao Zhao simply left the room and sat on the ground. He raised the blue totem in the air. The totem slowly rotated and emitted a golden light. The five-pointed star turned into countless small golden swords. Summoned by the array, the small swords flew into the room like rockets without Xiao Zhao's command. After a while, the small golden swords returned to the totem. The totem also slowly returned to normal and landed on Xiao Zhao's chest. Xiao Zhao knew that the array had been broken, so he pushed open the door of the room again. The scene in front of him frightened Xiao Zhao. He saw that the originally empty room had become quite crowded. The room was full of torture instruments, cold and bloodthirsty. Under the reflection of the moonlight, they emitted a cruel light. At this moment, a thin and weak figure was curled up beside a pillar. He had already fainted. A thick hemp rope was wrapped around her neck, and her tender skin was already bruised from being strangled. His body was in an even worse state. The clothes on his back were in tatters, and blood was seeping out in patches. Some of the blood had already condensed into black spots. His hands, which were curled up on his knees, could no longer be clenched. They were swollen like steamed buns. At this moment, it was also covered in bruises. Yinran's face was already swollen, and she no longer looked as beautiful and natural as she usually did. Xiao Zhao wanted to walk up, but the scene in front of him made his legs feel as heavy as gold. Even taking a small step forward was very difficult. His heart was trembling, and there was a kind of anger that went straight to the top of his head. Why was the person he loved so much being abused by others? He stretched out his hand, and then clenched it into a fist. In addition to anger, there was also a feeling of fear that was suffocating him. At this moment his mind was blank. He could no longer imagine what the consequences would be. He only knew that his beloved girl had just suffered inhuman torture. Just as he was hesitating, the sound of gears that he had heard before rang out again. This time he finally knew the source of the sound. It was the rope that controlled Yinran's neck. He saw that Yinran's neck was tightened again, and the fainted Yinran seemed to cry out in pain. Xiao Zhao could no longer bear it. He walked up and used his devil chi to cut the rope, and held Yinran in his arms. Xiao Zhao felt like he was holding a person lying in an ice house. There was no trace of warmth in his body. When Xiao Zhao hugged Yinran, he did not realize that his face was already covered in tears. Xiao Zhao buried his head in Yinran's neck with heartache. He kept calling out her name, but Yinran did not move. At this time, the mechanism was broken, and the crystal ball that had sealed Yinran's spiritual power also became dark. The little white steam bun on top of Yinran's head was finally free. She quickly threw herself at Yinran. Her master was too pitiful. She had to use all her strength to hug her, comfort her, and let her return to her original appearance. With the return of her spiritual power, Yinran finally woke up from her fainting state. The first thing she saw was Xiao Xiao holding her and crying. Yinran's hands and feet moved. Xiao Xiao immediately sensed it. He lowered his voice, and like a cello gently wrapped around Yinran. "You don't have to say anything. I'll take you home." Then he wiped his tears, picked up Yinran, and quickly shuttled through the mountain forest. Yinran's wandering heart seemed to have finally found home. The pain in her body gradually lessened with the recovery of her spiritual power, and the heavy burden that had been pressing on her heart seemed to have been taken down by someone. At this moment, she did not want to think about anything else. She was too tired, so tired that she just wanted to close her eyes and sleep forever. After returning home, Xiao Xiao placed Yinran on his big bed. He and Uncle Wu took the medicine box and the best healing pills. He personally treated Yinran's wounds bit by bit. He was the young master of the devil world. When had he ever done this kind of thing? At first he was in a hurry. He was worried that he would hurt Yinran, who was in a deep sleep. He was also worried that his medicine would irritate her. As a result, the medicine bottle was knocked over, and the bandages were cut in a mess. Fortunately, Yinran was like a sleeping princess, and did not have any reaction. He scratched his hair in annoyance. He no longer cared about his image as much as he usually did. If it was messed up, then it was messed up. The most important thing now was Yinran. What should he do? He angrily threw the bandages on the bed. Now it was time to use the books. He called Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming, and told them to immediately look for medical books. He wanted the best way to deal with the wounds. Then, according to the book, he practiced every step on his own body before treating Yinran. Finally, under his careful consideration, Yinran's wounds were finally treated by him. The whip marks on her back were hideous and terrible. In order not to leave scars, Xiao Xiao used the best pills. He crushed them all and applied them to the wounds. If the alchemists of the devil world knew that these priceless pills were used by the crown prince of the devil world on a large scale as external medicine, they would beat their chests and stamp their feet. They would cry and threaten him until he vomited blood and died. Unfortunately, any threat would be useless at this time. Xiao Xiao only had Yinran in his eyes. Young Master Qiao, who had always regarded money as dung, now regarded pills as disinfectant. Yinran was much better. Her spiritual power was restored. The majestic aura in her body automatically circulated, reconciling and healing all her internal injuries. Fortunately, there was Xiao Xiao. Otherwise, her external injuries would inevitably leave scars. Originally, Yinran didn't care about these things. She just followed her own inner persistence and perseverance to do things. Her belief was firm, and she still had faith. This was her life's pursuit. If she did something wrong, she would accept the punishment. She didn't blame anyone. But Xiao Xiao didn't think so. In his devil world, the law of survival was that if people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If people offended him, he would offend them. What bullshit cultivation world? What bullshit protection of the world? If you can't even protect yourself, what's the point of protecting the world? There were many things that you couldn't succeed if you worked hard. If you didn't succeed, you still had to torture yourself. What kind of bullshit logic was this? Xiao Xiao knew that Yinran didn't do anything wrong. The mistake was made by him. In the end, he had no choice but to blow up the treasury. If he really wanted to be punished, shouldn't he be punished? Then Yinran would take the blame for him. Xiao Xiao pursed his lips. While helping Yinran treat her wounds, his mind was filled with thoughts. Now he didn't know what to do. He hated these broken rules of the cultivation world, but he was powerless to change them. After everything was done, Xiao Xiao just stared blankly at Yinran. Looking at her still swollen cheeks, her neck had been smeared with ointment and bandaged. Her two hands were wrapped like bear paws. Her whole back was turned to one side. A thick layer of ointment was also applied. The wound on her back couldn't be bandaged. But he couldn't let her lie flat. Xiao Xiao could only use a few pillows to cushion Yinran's back. He built a temporary frame so that her back didn't touch the bed. Just like that, as he watched, his eyelids gradually started to droop. Just like that, he fell asleep sitting there. The video of Yinran and Huagang was indeed very popular on the internet. The video was directly searched by people on Weibo. It turned out that it was two high school students from Nanchuan High School. There were actually two such daring students in a famous school. Then, there was a heated discussion on the internet. The main focus was on two topics. One was whether high school students should fall in love early. The other was whether high school students should go to nightclubs. Pomelo in bloom. It's normal for high school students to fall in love early. My husband and I fell in love in high school. There are very few good boys nowadays. You have to strike first to gain the upper hand. Sister, you can do it. Dreaming of the land. Upstairs, what kind of bullshit logic is that? You'll definitely regret it when you get into university. You didn't work hard in high school and only thought about falling in love. Love beating eggs. Speaking of which, aren't you guys focusing on the wrong thing? Why would high school students go to nightclubs to fall in love? She on the door frame. As long as it's a relationship, isn't it normal to be anywhere? Passion is everywhere. Peach tea. High school students nowadays are too precocious. They directly skip the lips and kiss the neck. Shocked to the end. Will the school punish them? Flying in June. Good luck to the two brothers and sisters. The comments on the internet were a mess, and there were all kinds of opinions. Nanchuan High School's Tieba was even more explosive. Yinran's face was known by the whole school. They couldn't be more familiar with her face. She was a popular figure in the school. Huagang was the same. The gossip between the outstanding talents ignited the curiosity of the audience. Candy Daddy. Yinran looks so pure, but I didn't expect her to be so popular behind the scenes. Camel riding a horse. You can't judge a book by its cover. Rose grass. The representative of Nanchuan High School's outstanding students is a good example for everyone. Other students who are in love early quickly come out and say something. Skinnier than a pig. Puppy love in the open should at least be punished. Strawberry apple. Can't you guys see that this video was secretly taken? There must be a secret. Yinran is not such a person. Gathering at the village entrance to steal a goose. Yes, Yinran is not such a person. I believe in Yinran. Listening to the wind is rain. I know the inside story. They are just ordinary friends. The internet was in an uproar. It was because of the three sensitive words, high school student, nightclub, and puppy love, that pushed Yinran to the forefront of the storm. Chapter 142. While Yinran was being punished, the whole southern aristocratic family was depressed. Elder Yin was in a bad mood because of the failure of the mission and the blame from the top. He had sent Yinran's father to deal with the aftermath and tried to minimize the loss. In one night, the money in the Vault of Golden Age had been successfully transferred. Although most of the money had been lost, at least 2/3 of it had been saved. That was the only way. The culprit had not been caught yet, so they had to think about it in the long run. Yinran was being punished because Elder Yin had no choice. He had to give an explanation to the top. The punishment in the disciplinary hall was very cruel. No one had come here for a long time. He didn't know if Yinran could bear it. Master, there is a piece of news on the internet. You'd better take a look. Looking at the gloomy Elder Yin, the housekeeper walked in carefully and handed the phone to him. Elder Yin took a closer look and his eyes widened. He asked uncertainly, "Is this Yinran?" The housekeeper nodded heavily. Elder Yin was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. No wonder the mission failed. They were still flirting. Elder Yin was so angry that he smashed the phone on the ground. It broke into pieces, just like his mood at the moment. Elder Yin seemed to have found a way to vent his anger. He pointed at the phone and scolded. "I cared about her. I didn't expect that this was how she repaid me. It was even posted on the internet. She is a disgrace to the southern aristocratic family." After saying that, he stomped on the phone twice and ordered the butler, "Call for a meeting." The butler looked at his phone being dismembered, and his heart was throbbing with pain. The annual general meeting of the southern aristocratic family was usually held before the new year. It also meant to reward people based on their contributions. Usually, the internal meeting of the top management was held once a month, while the expansion meeting of the middle management was held once every 6 months. This time, Elder Yin asked for a temporary expansion meeting of the middle management. It would only be held when there was a major event in the family that needed to be reported. This time, Elder Yin was determined to hold Yin Ran accountable within the aristocratic family. Master, all the videos have been connected. We are just waiting for you to start the meeting. The housekeeper reported. Elder Yin turned around and strode into the meeting room. There was a large screen on the wall that was divided into many sections. Each section was occupied by the person in charge of the southern aristocratic family. Elder Yinran stood in front of the big screen in an imposing manner. This impromptu meeting is mainly to report the failure of a mission. Yinran was caught up in her personal feelings during the mission and lost her ability to judge, which ultimately led to the failure of the mission. She will be punished with 3 days in the disciplinary hall and a demotion of 1 rank. Everyone was shocked. They had already seen the video on the internet, but they didn't expect it to be true. Every cultivator knew how severe the punishment of the discipline hall was. It seems that Yinran's career is not going to be smooth. The accountability of the video meeting knocked on everyone's heart. At this time, Yinran, who was lying on the bed, seemed to have heard Elder Yan's voice. She suddenly woke up and bounced slightly on the bed. Xiao Xiao, who was beside the bed, was also awakened by this slight movement. He looked at Yinran, who was a little dazed on the bed. Her eyes were still a little empty. He squatted down, gently grabbed the little hand that was wrapped like a bear's paw, and waved it in front of Yinran's eyes. "Good morning, Yinran." A bright smile bloomed in front of Yinran's eyes. Yinran was in a trance. The last time she opened her eyes, she saw a body full of torture instruments. The next time she opened her eyes, she was in heaven. Was this a dream? Yinran wanted to raise her hand and touch the handsome face in front of her. But then she found 2 white bear paws floating in front of her. She looked at the professionally wrapped hands, with a beautiful bow on the top. There was also a big smiley face on the palm and the back of the hands. A wave of warmth hit her heart. Yinran's hoarse voice sounded. "Xiao Xiao, I found that you are really handsome." At this time, Xiao Xiao suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He didn't sleep much last night. His hair was messed up by him, and stubble had probably grown out. The dark circles under his eyes were probably almost as dark as an ink painting. He let go of Yinran's hand, winked at her, and said, "Wait for me." Xiao Xiao moved quickly. After fiddling with the bathroom for a while, he returned to Yinran's side. The moment he sat on the bed, he saw Yinran's rare faint smile. The beauty of the world froze at this moment. Xiao Xiao wanted to go on like this. Time was quiet, not fast, not slow, not in a hurry. "Yinran, how are you? Are you better?" "I'm fine. It's fine with spiritual power protecting my body." Yinran looked good except for her hoarse voice. Yinran asked Xiao Xiao to get a pillow behind her. "Your back is injured. This is not good for the wound." Xiao Xiao hurriedly stopped her. "Yesterday, when I applied medicine for you, it was so bloody that I could almost see the bones." Yinran thought of that scene and blushed. "Yesterday, you helped me change my clothes?" Xiao Xiao blushed and raised his right hand. "I swear my eyes were closed, and I only changed my clothes." Thinking of last night when he accidentally caught a glimpse of white tenderness, Xiao Xiao's heart beat faster. Yinran didn't say anything. She stared at Xiao Xiao. "Now your back should be almost healed." Xiao Xiao looked. After a night of rest, Yinran's back was already scarred. Xiao Xiao helped her sit up and put 3 pillows behind her, all the way to the top of her head. Yinran closed her eyes comfortably. Warmth flowed between the two. Xiao Xiao's eyes were complicated and deep. They were full of love, heartache, and regret. "I'm sorry, Yinran. It's all my fault. I didn't control my strength and caused you to suffer so much." Yinran shook her head. "I blamed you before because I was angry. Don't take it to heart. Although it's said that success depends on human effort, the real success or failure depends on the heavens. We must have met an expert, which caused the failure of the mission. But why do you have to bear such a big responsibility?" I'm the leader. Of course I have to bear the responsibility for the failure of the mission. I did it willingly. It's also because I'm not good enough. Nonsense. How can this be blamed on you? Our opponent is so strong. Didn't they not expect it before? It's useless to say more. This is our responsibility. We can't blame others. Xiao Xiao was speechless for a moment. He didn't know how to answer. After a while, Xiao Xiao continued. Does the cultivation world have to bear such a big responsibility? The heavens gave us the inheritance and gave us special abilities. That's why we have to bear the equivalent responsibility. You're too great. Not everyone thinks the way you do. What's the devil world like? We talk based on strength. Whoever doesn't listen to us, we beat them up. Then what should people like you do if your strength isn't enough? I'm the crown prince. Of course, I'm the only one who can beat people up. But that was in the past. Now I'm pretty strong. Recently my martial arts have improved. I can even beat Huagang. Xiao Xiao said proudly. Yinran sensed that something was wrong. The white steam buns on top of her head glared. When did you fight with Huagang again? Xiao Xiao saw that he had spilled the beans. His eyes darted left and right. No, it's just last time. Didn't you lose last time? Tell me the truth. Xiao Xiao felt guilty when he lied in front of Yinran. He could only say with righteous indignation. Isn't it because of the video of you and him? It's all over the internet now. I don't know who did it. But I know that you didn't do it willingly. You were on a mission at that time. So it must be him. However, Yinran, Huagang has bad intentions towards you. Can you stay away from him in the future? What video? Yinran was confused. The one where he kissed you. Xiao Xiao didn't even want to mention it. Yinran immediately became alert. Show me. Do you really want to see it? Show me. Xiao Xiao could only show the video to Yinran. Yinran's face darkened. Xiao Xiao looked at Yinran's expression and asked in a low voice. Is it what I guessed? You didn't do it willingly, did you? Yinran looked up and glared at him. What do you think? Then she explained. There was a security guard passing by at that time. I had no choice. Xiao Xiao had already guessed it, but he was still a little jealous. Anyway, he's a scumbag. Do you have to kiss him? I haven't kissed him yet. Yinran was speechless. Is that the point? I have to go back first. This matter is not normal. Yinran's keen sense of smell told her that the source of this video was strange. How could someone secretly take a video? The cameras in the corridor had already been destroyed. Moreover, with her cultivation, she would have noticed if someone was following her. Could it be that the Golden Age was so full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons? Yinran rushed back to her grandfather's house, ignoring her injuries. However, she was told that her grandfather was asleep and didn't want to see anyone. It seemed that Grandpa was still angry with her. She had to say to the housekeeper, Please tell Grandpa that I've been punished. I'm here to report to Grandpa. The housekeeper looked at Yinran's hand inside. Miss Yinran, go back and check your mailbox. This time, Elder Yin is really angry. Your accountability has been dealt. Just yesterday, because your video made too much noise, Elder Yin held an emergency middle-level meeting and demoted you. Yinran didn't expect such a result. She hurried over to explain the video, but she was caught unprepared by this sudden thunderbolt. She had already spent a lot of energy healing. When she heard the news, she couldn't help but feel her brain explode and her body tremble slightly. The housekeeper was shocked. Miss Yinran, are you okay? You have to understand the master. He needs to give an explanation to his superiors. Yinran's originally heavy heart became even heavier. Her heart was filled with bitterness. A mouthful of blood surged up her throat. She desperately swallowed it down, but the taste of rust had already spread to her mouth. This punishment had hurt her foundation. Chapter 143. Grandpa, Grandpa. Yi Xuanfei was extremely excited. She called out to her grandpa from upstairs and downstairs, fluttering around the living room like a butterfly. What are you so happy about? Old Master Yi walked down the stairs slowly with a smile. He had just woken up from his nap when he heard the crisp chirping of birds outside. Grandpa, I heard that the southern aristocratic family is holding Yinran accountable. And the punishment is very severe. She has already been sent to the disciplinary hall. I don't know if she has come out yet. Haha, I already know about this. It has spread throughout the cultivation world. Xuanfei, you have fought beautifully this time. She is our strongest opponent. She is righteous and loyal. She is the pillar of the southern aristocratic family. If we can take her down, the rest of the southern aristocratic family will not be worth mentioning. Old Master Yi patted Yi Xuanfei's shoulder and gave her an encouraging thumbs up. Yi Xuanfei was also very happy. She did not expect to win her first battle. The timing was right. Who asked Yinran to fail her mission? Grandpa, what should we do next? This is only the beginning. Yinran is still our strongest opponent. Only by finding a way to turn her into a useless person can we resolve our worries. Grandpa, isn't this a bit too cruel? Kindness to the enemy is cruelty to yourself. Don't bother about trifles when you plan for big things. Every time a dynasty changes, there will always be sacrifices. Xuanfei, I have always told you to read more history books. History is always repeating itself, and we can only be the ones to ascend to the throne in the end. But Yinran is so powerful. What can we do to destroy her spiritual power? Grandpa has already prepared this. Old Master Yi walked to the side of a safe, entered the password, opened the cabinet, and took out a small porcelain bottle. This is a spiritual pill. As long as we find a way to make Yinran eat it, no matter how strong her spiritual power is, it will be reduced to nothing. Yi Xuanfei asked in a trembling voice. Other than reducing her spiritual power, will it also take her life? That won't happen. It's not poison. Modern medicine can't detect it. We are cultivators, and protecting humans is our ultimate mission. If Yinran loses her spiritual power, then she will be the target of our protection. How can we just watch her die? Yi Lao Lao smiled and said the most ruthless words. So grandfather, this must be the reason why you want me to maintain a good relationship with her. Yi Xuanfei's heart was trembling. A sense of fear crept into her heart. She could almost hear her heart beating faster and faster. A kind of fear seeped out of her body, turning the air around her cold. Old Master Yi could see the fear in Yi Xuanfei's eyes. Xuanfei, you are the pillar of our Eastern aristocratic family. You can't be a coward at this critical moment. I've been planning this for so long, and now it's almost the critical moment. There is no turning back. You have to gather your courage and be brave. Don't treat her as a living person. You have to treat her as a stumbling block in your path to the throne. Only by removing this stumbling block will you be able to sit on your throne and receive the admiration of all the cultivators in the world. Her grandfather's words were like a catalyst for her ambition, causing her tiny expectations to expand infinitely. She took the porcelain bottle with her right hand and pressed down on her trembling right wrist with her left hand. This porcelain bottle in her hand was as heavy as 1,000 pieces of gold. Grandfather, I'm about to participate in the hip-hop competition. Can you wait for me to come back before carrying out this mission? Grandfather looked deeply at Yi Xuanfei. Go ahead. When you come back, you can't delay any longer. Yi Xuanfei lowered her eyes, hiding the discomfort in her heart, and nodded her head heavily. Old Master Yi said in the end, the key to the success of the entire Eastern aristocratic family lies in this porcelain bottle. Xuanfei, you can only succeed. Failure is not an option. As the college entrance exam approached, Yinran's injuries gradually recovered under Qiao Zhao's meticulous care. Uncle Wu tidied up the house one day. He realized that more than half of the pills in the storeroom on the second floor had been used up. He was shocked because a thief had broken into the house. After asking around, he finally found out that they had all been used on Miss Yinran. Uncle Wu waved his hand. The future crown princess could take whatever she needed. If it wasn't enough, he would think of other ways. Xiao Xiao was about to leave when he suddenly tripped. He turned his head stiffly. Uncle Wu, what did you just say? Uncle Wu left silently. From afar, the words future crown princess drifted over. Xiao Xiao chewed on these words for a long time. He felt that it was really delicious. Time was like a child who couldn't wait to grow up. It was only a few weeks until their college entrance exam. Even Xiao Xiao felt that the atmosphere in the school was a little different, especially in the second-year group. The few people who usually played games with him also began to read the books seriously and do the questions. Zhang Daong, you're cramming at the last minute. There should be a limit to studying. You don't even speak a word all day. Don't study until you're stupid. Xiao Xiao took a pen and knocked on Zhang Daong's table. Zhang Daong raised his head from the pile of books. His eyes were red and dark. Brother Qiao, I'm about to drown. Save me. I can't breathe. Even swimming requires breathing. Do you really think you're a lobster at the bottom of the sea? Ma Xiaoxian turned his head. Last night, he read books until 3 in the morning. In the morning, he rushed to school to do practice questions. He didn't even have time to comb his hair. It was messy like a chicken's nest on his head. Brother Qiao, he's not a lobster. He's a soft-footed shrimp at the bottom of the sea. We're going to be tortured to the bottom of the sea forever. Jiechi also pouted and took a paper over. Brother Qiao, can you explain this question to me? I really don't understand. My brain is fried. Come. Let Brother Qiao inject some fresh brain cells into you. I just bought milk tea. It'll be here soon. Wow, Brother Qiao, long live. After a while, Yanran and a few classmates walked into the classroom with a lot of milk tea in their hands. Xiao Xiao saw that Yanran had 4 in her left hand and 4 in her right hand. He quickly took them and whispered to her, Your hand is injured. Why are you still carrying such heavy things? Yanran smiled. I just happened to hear that you ordered milk tea at the door, so I brought it in. This weight is nothing. Sit down and let me take a look. Xiao Xiao pulled Yanran over and let her sit down. Then, he turned her 2 hands over and over and looked at them for a long time. Her 2 slender and delicate hands. Her skin was white and crystal clear. Her neatly trimmed and round nails were like the most tender spring bamboo shoots. Because she was carrying the milk tea, there were a few red marks on her palms, which made his heart ache. Jiechi's small eyes stared closely. Xiao Xiao was holding Yanran's hand. The more she looked, the stranger she felt. Brother Qiao, Sister Yanran, do you two count as holding hands? As soon as this sentence came out, Yanran was like a frightened rabbit. She quickly withdrew her hand and rubbed it awkwardly. She stopped talking and sat upright. Then, she picked up a book and began to do the questions. Xiao Xiao seemed to have also reacted. He leaned back in his chair and coughed. Come Jiechi, which question did you not know how to do just now? Let Brother Qiao explain it to you. Jiechi looked at Xiao Xiao, and then at Yanran. She thumped her chest and stamped her feet. Then she advised in a heavy tone. Brother Qiao, your flirting skills have improved by another level. You're so gentle and considerate. Can't you give other girls a chance? Xiao Xiao touched his nose. I'll only flirt with Yanran, okay? Are you still going to talk about the questions? If not, I'll go read. Yes. Brother Qiao is always right. All right. Let's hurry up and read. Ma Xiaoxian, the king of smoothing things over, jumped out again. Brother Qiao is treating everyone to milk tea. Hurry up and shut up. After drinking the milk tea, read your books. The atmosphere became more and more tense day by day. The occasional banter and quarrel became rare. In the past few weeks, the students in this grade had been studying like crazy. Their eyes were staring blankly, and their brain cells were dying one after another. Under the influence of such an atmosphere, Xiao Xiao made the little tadpoles in his mind take out all the things that needed to be reviewed. He had already thought about it. Yanran was going to study finance at Northern University. Then, he would study computer science at Northern University together. Anyway, he had to watch over Yanran. The results of the college entrance examination were very important. Although he and Yanran's grades were ranked first and second in school, after all, they were competing with students from all over the country. He couldn't drop the ball. If he didn't go to the same school as Yanran, wouldn't he cry to death? The tense atmosphere had already extended to Yi Xuanfei, who was in the next class. Although her grades were average, and she definitely had to take the college entrance examination, and wouldn't rely on the college entrance examination to enroll students, the college entrance examination was also very important. If she didn't work hard and couldn't get into a good school, Old Master Yu would probably be disappointed in her. During this period of time, other than looking for Xiao Xiao and Yanran to chat, She often gave Xiao Xiao small gifts. Xiao Xiao didn't reject anyone. Every day, there were countless girls giving him gifts. He didn't even know which girl gave him the gifts. And Yi Xuanfei's gift was the most special. There was always a little blue star on the outside of the wrapping paper. It was the pattern of the gem on her navel ring. But Xiao Xiao didn't care. It was piled together with the other gifts. After a long time, it was distributed to the students in the class, or taken away by the cleaning auntie. Zhang Daong always said that he stepped on the girls' hearts. Xiao Xiao said eloquently, "They want me to accept it, not how I deal with it. Think about it, isn't this for everyone's benefit?" The other fans were fine. They didn't know that Xiao Xiao would deal with it this way. But Yi Xuanfei once saw that her gift was thrown away by the cleaning auntie like trash. She couldn't help but be furious, and ran to Xiao Xiao to reason with him. But she was dismissed by Xiao Xiao with a few words. He went back and continued to give her gifts with a smile. Zhang Daong sighed. "Brother Qiao, you're really a master at coaxing girls." Xiao Xiao felt that it was true. Why didn't he practice in this aspect? It was really strange. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.